G'day everyone and welcome to the VALORANT Oceania tour. We are, well, very grateful, very happy to be here. It's going to be a banger. Of course, who are we is a question that you guys might be asking. My name is Dion Komodo Prada. Joining me is Joe Quickdraw Basso. Not only is this an introduction into the VALORANT closed section, but it's also our little first stint as casters together. So as we started up, Joe, how you doing, man?
Yeah, doing well. I mean, we've known each other for a while, obviously, and yeah, it's nice to have this opportunity, at least alongside you. It should be a great tournament.
Yeah, it should be a ripper of a tournament indeed. That is for sure. And I mean, whilst we get into the tournament, why don't we have just a little bit of a brief overview on what we are going to be, seeing in the tournament explainer as a whole, as you might call it. So to bring it on over into this one, folks, 2 open quals, 2 closed quals, and of course, one of those quals is where we're at right now.
Yeah, and at least so far we have seen a variety of games. All of them have been close, as we have seen. But I'm very interested to see how the rest of at least these stages do continue, because so far it's delivered.
Not wrong by any stretch of the mind just there. Across the board here, though, one of the things that I guess sticks out to me in this one, Joe, is that top 2 teams go to the last chance in Worlds. And I mean, permitted everything, that means we'll be seeing 2 teams get to go to America internationally to try and qualify into the big boy event. So that's something that's going to be extremely exciting.
Yeah, at least for Oceania as a region, like, it's a big opportunity for a lot of players to build themselves up and, turn themselves into, let's say, icons in the VALORANT scene for OCE. And tournaments like these, they give that opportunity to so many players.
Well, speaking about opportunities, speaking about these games, speaking about this tournament for stage 1, let's introduce a little bit of a bonus for these teams that they will be seeing. That's going to be the prize pool here, of course. First to 4th, guaranteed to get a little bit of the dollars coming into their back pocket.
Yeah, a little bit of money doesn't hurt, but you've also got to remember you're playing for a title as well. You come first. $4,000's a lot of money between 5 people as well, Dion. Like, team won $4,000. I'd be quite chuffed with myself as well.
No, I would be ecstatic with that as well. Always welcome a little bit extra money and, the experience that these teams are going to get on the back of this tournament. Speaking about experience, all of those open qualifiers that we did get to see coming on forward, there was a lot of those highlight plays that we were able to witness from these teams. Speaking of which, opening with a classic, RDW here, an ace to be brought out. Man, are we just going to see more plays like this throughout this series?
Yeah, definitely a player to watch, but there has been plenty of other teams who unfortunately weren't able to actually make it here. And Genuine Gaming just presenting themselves here, and Sock, a well-known figure, just cleaning up as well with that 4-piece.
Yeah, well, a lot of highlight plays can come on through, but the penultimate thing between all of these teams is to be building up themselves to get themselves ready to go into that last chance qualifier. Because, as we've already mentioned, there's 2 slots that these teams will be vying for. We've kind of, not so much to say eliminated teams from this tournament so far in the opening state, because they can sign up again to go qual in the next stint of the opening qualifiers, which I believe is going to be next week. Hence, in that previous explainer, we had those 2 open qualifiers and 2 closed qualifiers. So these teams, I mean, a lot to prove, a lot to focus on. And I think for the lesser known teams, maybe the younger teams, a lot of these matches will give them that experience that they need.
Yeah, and honestly, opportunities like these to at least have a second chance at qualifying into such a big event for us here, they don't come very frequently. And, even though it is single elimination in the at least the opening closed quals, like, there's still plenty of chances to get through.
Plenty of chances to get through indeed. We're going to have, 8 teams that'll be going through the bracketing system this week. We'll get to that in just a moment. One of the big things, I guess, in my mind is, Icebox is still kind of one of those newer maps in the pool. Well, it is technically the newest map. Do you reckon we're going to actually see Icebox from these teams?
I mean, we've seen bigger surprises, right? And, quite frankly, I wouldn't be against it. Like, it's a really nice map to switch things up, but I know a lot of teams are a little bit afraid to play on it as well.
Yeah, well, hopefully the teams that we do witness here aren't going to be afraid to deep into the darker parts of the map pool. First up, though, here we have the 8 teams that have managed to break themselves into this closed section. A lot of them are going to be really high tier, high type maps that, you know, we've seen some upsets already in that opening part of the system so far.
Yeah, and you know, the 2 games we have got on tonight, I think they're going to deliver. Honestly, there's a lot of upset potential, but Wildcard versus Paradox, that's the first one we've got, Dion, and I'm kind of excited for this one.
Yeah, I'm kind of excited for this one as well. You know, it's one of the big things. Wildcard, when we saw their roster shuffles, you know, it's a bit of expectations, I guess, could get thrown on towards them as a bit of a whole. So I guess whilst we are talking about them, let's throw it in to actually see who is going to be in these lineups.
Yeah, and first up, we have got Wildcard Gaming, and I don't know about you, Dion, but these guys are looking quite hot off the trot at the moment. Like, this team, when it was first put together, I was ecstatic. Like, there's so many individuals in this team that can just turn up at any given moment, and 5-star players like this on one team, I'd be afraid for a lot of these teams coming into this tournament.
Oh yeah, 100%. One of the big things to note about this roster as well is that they're relatively young together. You know, they've only been practicing for about the 2-week mark now, so definitely a lot of things to improve upon. I had the chance to speak to RDW a little bit earlier, and he just wanted to make sure that people out there do know that they haven't had a lot of time to be able to practice together as the whole type unit. So just one of those things to have in the back of your mind. And speaking of as well, you know, the other team, we can't touch upon Wildcard the whole time. It's going to be Paradox.
I would see these guys as being a bit of a dark horse, honestly. They did finish bottom seed, but they still managed to qualify, right? And this team is made out of a lot of key individuals as well. Rice really just being one of those key figures. We've seen him time and time again deliver alongside these other players. And Paradox Gaming, I haven't seen much of them personally, but I think they can potentially bring something to the table tonight that might get a little bit of an edge over Wildcard.
Yeah, well, speaking about the edge, speaking about the individual players that we'll want to be seeing perform tonight, let's touch upon the Jet players of these rosters, Ninim and Exempt. You know, in our region, Ninim is one of those players that a lot of people, if not everybody, knows who they are, what they're capable of. They even have a play named after them, the Ninim Peak. So we're expecting some big things to come down from these potential operator players on the Jets, but when it comes down to those rifles, I really know they're going to shine.
It's going to be rather interesting, like that fast play style we see a lot of Jets play. It's really fun to watch because you can have so much potential with that character as well. Play fast, play slow, get into those angles and try and pick off some players the best they can. And even alongside the operator, Dion, it can cause some trouble for a lot of teams.
Yeah, the operator, of course, is going to be one of the big things that we'll wait to see brought forward. I guess you could say the Marshal as well, the budget sniper to be brought forward. I'll just give everybody a little bit of a note. There was a patch out today to buff some weapons, nerf some weapons. Reyna got one of those nerfs as well. These teams are not going to be playing on that patch that came out today. We are going to be playing on the patch as it were yesterday. So, you know, you're still going to have those 4 abilities that the Reyna can play with. You're not going to have all those changes to the Frenzy, for instance, the Stinger as well. So everyone will be sharp and ready just on that little point there. But as we are ready to nearly get in towards the game, do you have any predictions on what maps that we're going to be seeing?
I mean, there's a lot of different, I guess, routes a lot of these teams can take, but at least Ascent is just a very generic map you see in the pool. And typically when it comes down to that third pick, you know, Split, Icebox, those 2 are typically the ones that most teams don't really like to slide into. They're a little bit harder to play out, but I wouldn't be surprised if you saw one of those 2.
Well, without further ado, let's bring in what the maps are going to be and have a little look-see. So we are going to be, I guess you would say, technically in the middle of the map pool. There isn't too many to catch us off guard here. Paradox are going to be bringing out Ascent, Wildcard onto Haven, and then we will last up on Split, which, I mean, all things considering here, Joe, in your honest opinions, do you think we're going to get Split today between these 2 teams?
I feel it's a bit too early to call it, but I feel seeing the results, at least with the seeding matches, it could be a little bit rough. Wildcard just looks so strong on Haven specifically. Like, they even got a 13-0 against Direwolves, which, you know, is not very expected, to say the least. And even on Ascent, they had quite a good performance there as well.
Yeah, that's exactly correct. I think one of the biggest things for me, you know, with the wildcard roster specifically, is weighing on my mind is that they've only had those sort of 2 weeks to play with each other. But the performance, the results that they've already shown through with as well, they are stellar, right? You know, one thing that'll come to mind in this one, Ascent. as a whole with Wildcard, they change up their lineup of agents between maps, right? Specifically, if we look at RDW, who I mentioned before, Ascent, we're going to be expecting the Sage. Haven, we're going to be expecting the Phoenix. You know, if we had brought in Icebox, we would have seen the Viper. So they're not scared as a team to change things up. I would expect that we will see those comfortable lineups from these guys that we have already in the past, you know, sort of areas of the tournament already. But it does mean that we're going to be starting off on Haven, and we should get ready to be going into, oh, sorry, Ascent, not Haven. I'm getting ahead of myself here, but we're ready to get into the map. It's just around the corner here. We are going to be seeing Wildcard, Paradox, map 1 for the closed qualifiers section. These teams want to get into that final spot. They want their qualification area.
There's a lot of pressure on both teams, Dion, but this is where it starts. The best of 3 between Paradox and Wildcard, and I'm excited to get into this one, the first map of the closed qualifiers, and well, I hope it delivers, and we hopefully are going to be getting in there shortly as well.
Indeed. Over on to Ascent, of course, the map pick to come through from Paradox, so we know that the Wildcard squad are going to start off on that Defenders side of the map. I'm just really interested to see if we are going to have any kind of extraordinary picks, if we're going to have anything out too far-fetched. But let's switch on over it. We're in that agent selection area now. Let's bring it in. What have we got?
I mean, you summed it up, didn't you? You see a Jet from Ninham. On the other side of things, though, we don't see a Jet yet. I find that kind of surprising, to be honest, Dion. But, you know, you called RDW using the Sage as well, so it seems like you've done your homework a little bit.
Yeah, it's a little bit interesting. You know, we're going to have Exempt bringing out the Sage instead of the Jet that we've seen, you know, once upon a time be quite comfortable with. If you've ever hidden any tactics, I guess now would kind of be your time to bring it out, right? Because this bracketing system is a single elim BO3. You know, we will be saying farewell to one of the teams on the back of this best of 3.
Yeah, and bottom line, that's just really how it works, right? You only have one chance, at least so far, but there are going to be other qualifiers available to these teams, but they want to win now, right, Dion? They've got 3 maps to prove themselves, and we are going to be starting off on Ascent, which it is a very generic map. It's a very basic map, but, you know, it can always deliver some spicy goodness, depending on how these teams want to play it. And I'm kind of excited to see how these teams do actually perform.
Yeah, you're indeed correct on that one. Just touching upon the agent lineups right now, you know, you've got that Raze little difference to be brought on forwards. So it seems like we've had a little bit of an alt tabbage just happen in there. So we'll bring it here just while we are bringing in the game audio, as we believe that has just come off it. So, you know, we touch upon that. The Jet is going to be out for the Raze. So if we marry those up, I think one of the big things here for me is going to be those Sage picks to be bringing on forwards. Hopefully we do see those, you know, assists come on out.
Yeah, like their nade shells can 100% just be, you know, that early utility damage that most Razors do use, especially typically around the middle area, maybe up towards your Vines catwalk area. That's typically your 2 generic spots, but movement is typically another thing that can come into it as well. And a lot of players, they do struggle to hit those flying packs as well, which, you know, if you're fast and furious, you can definitely get those kills.
Well, I guess if we're looking at it, you know, whilst we do just wait for this game to get back underway, apologies for this little part here, guys. I believe the pistol is just catching it. We just have a sound issue that we're trying to catch as quick as possible. If we can bring this back into it relatively fast, we should be able to just push it back on the through. And here we go. All right, let's hope that this is all fixed for ourselves. Does look like that we've just missed the pistol, unfortunately.
It's unfortunate, but Wildcard did actually take that one away, Dion. So they have got that advantage heading into round number 2, early stages. And at least on the side of Paradox, they are going to be going for a couple of upgraded pistols.
Couple of upgraded pistols is always going to be welcome with open arms to see if they can catch over the Wildcard squad, get them a little bit, you know, potentially catch them off guard. The Stinger, you know, it was one of those weapons that potentially we could have seen be purchased up as your sort of anti-eco strat coming in towards the day with the changes, but it will be of course, Paradox taking the sort of smooth route. They'll get their big weapons in the next round.
Hopefully we get into it shortly, but it's a very nice thing to see a bit of a variety of characters come through as well. Like at least a Killjoy, we don't see any ciphers as well, which I'd like to point out, which I like is a bit of a change. I think Killjoy's a little bit more viable, honestly, on this map. I know at least when I've played in a couple of leagues myself and watched a couple of teams, Killjoy seems to be picked a little bit more than Cypher from memory at the moment.
Yeah, it almost feels like there was that sort of grace period, between your Cypher and your Killjoy where everyone was still kind of using the Cypher. They didn't really know where the Killjoy sort of fit in the meta, but now that Killjoy has kind of had a little bit of those waters tested, seems to get picked up a lot more. I mean, the big difference, right? You got that turret towards the camera. I like to be using those cameras personally, but of course the turrets, they can do the same thing to get the big old information.
Yeah, I mean, even I guess with the Killjoy specifically, like the Torrent can definitely, just play as a bit of a placeholder towards the site as well, get the early info if a team does end up pushing towards that site, which I guess it is a bit more of a positive thing because it can inflict that damage early stages in comparison to the Cypher, where, you can throw your cam out, you can maybe get a tag on them, but not really much more than just that tiny bit of info.
Yes, well, we'll just be slowly waiting. We've dropped the pause on towards the game so far, so we're just trying to fix up this audio issue for the current time. And then we should be able to bring it back on. Apologies, guys. It seems, we just have a bit of this audio issue, and then hopefully we'll get straight back shooting in towards the game, and then we'll get it going on live. We talk about the predictions, I guess, just a little bit further on ourselves because we didn't get a lot of time for that. My sort of, I guess, predictions on this one would have been a 2-0 for Wildcard, especially now seeing the map pool as it is.
Yeah, I mean, I can definitely jump in that boat with you as well because, like, just seeing how the setting matches went, like, Wildcard just had such a dominant performance on mainly Haven and Ascent. Honestly, those were typically the two key maps for them, and quite frankly, heading into this one, like Paradox, they need to have a big performance to be able to overcome Wildcard because these guys are looking pretty strong, even with the lack of practice. But I do hope we kind of see a bit of a an underdog victory, at least from Paradox. I think there's definitely some potential there to make a potential upset.
Yeah, well, as we've said, it is that sort of best of three single elimination spot. So if there is an upset, it means that Wildcard here would be sent into that open stage again for next week's games, where they would themselves have to just try and make sure that they're getting through quite cleanly, not dropping the ball anywhere, and getting that top spot as well. So whether or not you would say that they could have a better run in this one, as some strategies, would potentially be seen that could be counted in the next stage if they were to drop off. I mean, that's going to be something that will be weighing on all of the teams' minds, right? You got a lot of those teams that want to withhold their strategies and not deploy them until they're really needed in a later state. But then again, if you drop out early on and you don't get to deploy them, would that have been the big difference?
Yeah, and I guess key scenarios like that, like especially early stages in a tournament, you don't really want to be giving up your strats against, I mean, if you are one of those higher seeded teams, you don't really want to be giving up those strats against maybe potentially one of the lower seeded teams. And at least moving forward on the tournament, if you expect yourself to actually win out that potential first stage, like it can definitely benefit you when you do move into those later stages.
Well, I'm just trying to figure out the communication issues right now so we can get back into it and start up the game. It kind of looks like right now that the audio issues have been solved. So hopefully now we will be able to switch it on over and get ripe and ready in toward the matchup. So let's switch it on over. And let's get it on in.
Yeah, we're back into it.
There we go.
Not everything's perfect, Dion. Not everything's perfect. Our production's doing the best they can in these situations, which I do respect as well. About 15 seconds until we get back into it, so we are going to see things kick off a little bit into the second round, and Paradox on the weaker side of things, Dion. They've only got the one Sheriff brought into it. The rest of the squad on the side of Wildcard, they're looking furious. They've got those rifles, a shotgun as well.
Alrighty, let's get kicking into it, just like you have said, infrequent on the Omen. Getting a little bit of pressure established over at A long for the starting is Paradox, secured in the ultimate orb, of course, a little bit too early before we see any of those. Going to be relying on the Sovers in this one here, Joe, to counter out the lockdowns from Killjoys. You know, sometimes when you switch out Brimstone for Omen, you can use those orbital strikes as well to counter them out, but for right now, there is only that single point of destruction.
And at least at the moment, it's a bit of a slow start, to say the least. At least from the side of Paradox, no real contention towards either of these sites, but it would be aware of that Killjoy turret, at least towards B main. And that's a little bit of info actually coming out from Seiko's info dart. And that shock dart could potentially do some damage. That is a
well, the barrier was
oh my god,
keeping them at bay for a little bit of time. You talk about a massive chunk of damage. Unfortunately, it was under the Sage, so I mean, a heal is viable. Marshall on Ninim only going to be good for one, trailed out by Azuliate, and the pressure is just going to amount back over to where it started around the A site. What can Wizard do up at Short Garden? He's actually going to choose to fall off.
Yeah, he's just playing a bit more of a passive position, waiting potentially for the retake to come through from his teammates. But Paradox, they're still stuck. The swarms, they're just preventing them from going through onto this A site, and the turret's going to chip a little bit of damage into them as well. But Paradox, they will be able to get the spike down here.
Yeah, getting the spike down in a 4 versus 4 situation. They even have the Resurrection available to play within the next round. Right, and early RDW for now going to be on the Bucky. Slow Orbs to try and go out as Wizard picks up on as Exempt. 3 players playing on towards Hell. They can use their pistols to try and triangulate these fights. Jordan to find RDW after he finds one. 2 versus 2 situation. The Ares to try and pepper down some damage, and they will find them in the end. So Wildcard will pick up the second round. They're dropping 3 players in the process.
This fight is diffused.
Yeah, those 3 players falling beyond that is a very key thing to mention, because Paradox getting onto the site and getting that spike down as well. Like, that was a pretty solid round from them. The only investment being that Sheriff, and, you know, that first pick at least going to the way of Paradox, actually on towards, I think it was Ninib, up towards Catwalk. But pretty good start, to say the least, from Paradox. But heading into this next round, they are going to be buying into this one. So this is where things are going to start to kick off with the rifles.
Yeah, this is where things is, you know, you really want to see Paradox get on a roll. The attacking side of this map can sometimes be a little bit strugglesome. Of course, with 3 players dropping on the side of Wildcard, they will be permitted a bit of a better purchase. Now, one-way dark cover over towards A long. Last pack used to hop across. Just a little bit of info and some damage also done onto Azuliate from the shock darts, I do believe, at the start of the round.
I'd like to set up that Wildcard's at least going for. There's not really much mid presence actually being shown this round. Very, very early stages, showing that 3-man presence towards B. And they've actually decided to rotate RDW over towards the A side, which can definitely work out for them, because that wall is going to provide Seiko with a little bit of extra protection.
Yeah, well, it's 3 players for Wildcard at the current time, sitting in Garden. They've got a Nano Swarm at the entry point. A shock dart would destroy that right now, but for Paradox, you know, they don't have a jet that they can try and explode in with. They're going to have to use all their utilities to start to do so. Slow Orbs out, Algrone as well to spot out some info. Ninim going to be slowed up at the rafters. There should be a plant going down relatively soon for Paradox, though. They overlook Ninim, and he finds 2.
Pretty solid picks coming through from Ninim to kick things off, and Paradox now 3v5, trying to get the spike down, but RDW swinging wide, just going to pick it up.
Player standing.
Now it's just all on the shoulders of Rice. That's unfortunate.
Massive.
And then that's so clean down.
That's just textbook plays to come out from Wildcard there. You know, rely upon Ninim to be able to find your openers. Paradox not expecting him to push through a smoke and a slow orb, but somehow escapes with 2. Tailwinds himself out of there and just lives to find another day. Lives to find another pick. The closing pick of the round. 3-0 so far for Wildcard. A purchase not going to be permitted for Paradox now. The Resurrection available, but if they don't find something early with the pistols, can't really justify getting in that Resurrection. So for all eyes on this round, it should be going over to Wildcard, but hey, we've seen a lot done with less in the past, so don't count out the damage that these pistols can find.
Oh my god, Bryce, what is that? What? Oh, I'd be quitting the server.
As I said, do not count out the pistols. Just straight away a shot to come through. Infrequent will answer back by finding Azuriate. RDW to double down to 2 as well. Make it a third one. Just finding a little bit of the Twitter clip for himself. The eco frags. It's on a Jordan. Looking for some sort of damage. But now these positions been seen.
At least he got something, Dion. He's got one. Potentially find himself a second here as well, but Infrequent just going to clean him up. And my God, I'm still shocked from that first Sheriff shot. That was just ridiculous. But Wildcard with a 4 in lead at the moment.
Yeah, the first shot, not going to lie, it was pretty spicy indeed. It was 145 to the face from about that distance. Maybe it was 159 if it was closer.
Yeah, they're not... They need to try and change things up, honestly, Dion, because at the moment, they're just getting destroyed on these pushes. Like, they're managing to get out, at least onto the sites, and, you know, trying to get the spike down, but other than that, there really isn't too much more going on.
Yeah, well, the beginning of this round is going to be the wall up in through Pizza. And then I'm going to miss out the operator's shot. Love to see that the op is purchased on through to start things off. RDW, the dart's going to be missing out on him. We don't miss the frag, and neither does Ninim. Finding a second one. I don't think the dash was expected to go forwards, but hey, he manages to get the pick and still survive. 2 unanswered openers. It's not the way that you want to see Paradox start off the round. And once they finally do get a pick on the board, it's again enter back from none other than Ninim. On for the ace now. This is insane. He would have spotted out the last player. Oh, and the dash into the bricks.
There was so much potential for it too, Dion, but, you know, a little bit overzealous there, managing to get taken down. But a 1v3 now for poor old Jordan. He's going to get swung on by Seiko. And just another round going to the way of Wildcard.
Well, Ninim, extremely deadly on the operator. You can't really see anything else from Paradox when they're kind of just peeking into him one at a time. You see the cases when Ninim does dash, they are forward. It is technically into still the crosshairs of Paradox. Gets caught off in the end as he can't find Jordan. But at the end of the day, that's damage delivered. That's Wildcard picking up their 5th round. Finally, Paradox, they'll have the weaponry in that sort of half by pistol attempt again. It's not the greatest for them. I've seen a Guardian be purchased up as well. And you know, when you've got a Guardian out, that things are quite dire.
I really like this aggressive setup that Wildcard is actually playing out towards A. Like, they're getting that really early info as well. At least before Paradox decides to go for a commit. And nice start from Seiko. Gets the early info with the outcam and the shock dart coming through, but not really much damage being done as of yet. And that is a nice little chunk to come through onto 2 players, and there goes Azuriate.
And this position from Wizard as well is not really expected over in through mid. He's able to line up himself for 2. One of these players is low. There's the 4K. Doesn't even budge from position. Feet planted in stone. And that's the 6th round. Another flawless one for Wildcard. Really starting to feel out for Paradox, you know. This is the map pick that they have picked as well for themselves. Do they have some surprise strategies to throw at Wildcard from now on that they will have their rifles in their hands?
I feel maybe they're playing the game a little bit too slow, if I'm going to be honest, Dion. Like, at least in the later stages of rounds, they play it slow, they try to push a site, and, well, at least Wildcard, they've got that early information, especially from these aggressive pushes they continuously keep doing.
Yeah, well, they've got all their rifles here, as we've said. A faster change of pace would be loving right now. I would say the exact same, and they're going to attempt to do so. The Blast Packer, again, try to find some early damage. It's only going to spot out some information at this current point. That opening with the Hunter's Fury means that the lockdown can go down. Beautiful shot from Ninim. There can't currently be an answer to this lockdown, so whilst we're getting into the site for Paradox, they already have played down.
That is such a nice shot onto Exempt. Oh my God, Ninim. This man is on fire, Dion.
Through the floor as well. The aggression that Jordan tries to do is dealt with by Ninim again on the 3K. He's just answering everything that he needs to. Nano Swarm deployed and destroyed from Azuriate over in the line. RDW is just charging at them, loses the duel. At this point in time, they can just get on the spike. They don't need to just yet as the shock darts coming out from Illusion. Gets decapitated by Ralph. Seiko finds Azuriate, and that is a defuse to come through for Wildcard. A lot of ultimates deployed in that round. 3 from the side of Paradox. I think it was only the 1 on the side of a Wildcard. But for 7 unanswered rounds, this is looking kind of grim for Paradox.
And at least Wildcard are looking very clean with it, to be honest, on this defense. Like, they've had so many opportunities to just open up the round, and Ninum specifically, Dion, like, he has been popping off with that operator every round. He's consistently finding kills at openings.
Yeah, the scoreboard would be looking pretty nice right now for the side of Wildcard that you would expect Ninum on the top of it. But let's see finally if we're going to have Paradox getting something, you know, the loss bonus money coming into their back pockets. They've got their rifles to play with, but I love the different turnout from Wildcard in this round. Again, it's just a different strategy. I touched upon it. There's been 2 weeks for these guys to practice, and every day they have been practicing to just better themselves.
And you can really see how it's been benefiting them as well, Dion. Like, at least at the moment, they're playing a very different game, but it seems like Paradox going for the push out onto the site, and they catch him off guard with the wall, but Infrequent, so close to finding 3, but Exempt shuts him down, goes for the res onto Rise as well, so that's going to be the A site, open for the taking, but Wizard, he's the one man to try and find himself a pick towards his side.
Yeah, and it's going to be the Afterplant retake now for Wildcard to go in. There is the recon dart already destroyed. Azuliate caught Ninum off guard in the back of mid. The Fury misses a shot from Seiko, but he still manages to find Azuliate. Wizard finds Jordan with information now being spotted out on the side. I'm not sure if they know that both of these players are hell, so the Algorand does go in. Gets up that info that they needed. Wizard to lead the charges. Seiko is quite low. There's the first one. It's all going to be down to last remaining soldier who manages to find one on Exempt. He's on for the 4K to clutch it out. Spike is near explosion. 1 second on the heel. Shouldn't be using it. Have that gun out. Seiko's 1 HP. Seiko's dealt with. And that is finally a round going over towards Paradox. But with only 1 player surviving in the end, they were definitely pushed up against the wall.
Ironically, the player who got the 4K as well, Dion. Exempt really did turn up that round, honestly. And, you know, Wildcard on the retake, that was, yeah, not really the best, if I'm going to be honest. So they tried to play it as well as they could, but it seems like a little bit of panic ensued for them.
Can I get a drop?
Yeah, it looked a little bit choppy. I mean, they were able to get something at least dealt with a little bit over in through mid from Azuliate's flank, even though it was only damage onto Seiko. It put him into the low spot to die quite quickly in that 1 versus 1 engagement. So, I mean, really what you can take to that at the end of it, it was a great setup from Wildcard at the start, you know, with the boost up on those ice walls, and it was the anti-play to come through from Paradox. A bit of a choppy round, just, you know, as you surmise that in the end. But now, as we get into the fresh one, Paradox are on the board. They're going to try and continue on with it.
And at least this time for Wildcard, they're playing a bit more of a retake position towards the A side. Like, no one directly at least playing on there, but Paradox, they're deciding they want to change things up. A bit of an A split to come through here, very early stages, but it could easily work in their favor, and that's that. They've already got 1 player out towards the side, and Bryce getting a little bit aggressive out there, but Azuliate, he's actually going to manage to find 1, and Infrequent quick to trade. The blind to come through from Jordan. It's just a cleanup up towards Catwalk, Dion. Trade's going left and right.
And there's a resurrection available for Wildcard as well. You know they're going to go for it over towards short. Ninum even just hop to and throw, jumps in towards the crosshairs of Delusion, manages to catch him with the operator. The recon bolt onto Rice catches him, so he's now known. Shock Dart could potentially finish him off, but the rest of the team are going to flood the site. And now it's on to Exempt. It's good for 1. The reload will be to his death. And the defuse will come through for Wildcard as well. So that's now 8 rounds on the board for them. And it's back to the drawing board for Paradox too.
Yeah, very strong retake there from Wildcard, Dion, but that was just such a mess. Like, there's so many players whiffing shots, bunny hops from Ninum. It was just a... I don't even know what to call that, honestly. Everyone just decided to have a bit of fun that round.
That's just an Ninum thing. That's just him having fun, doing what he does best. His movement is something to just behold, isn't it?
Yeah, he seems like a bit of a different breed, especially on the jet as well. Like, he can just do what he wants and just dash out whenever he needs to, and no one's going to punish him for it.
Yeah, well, let's see if Paradox are going to be punishing in this fresh round. It's on those pistols. We've already seen that Sheriff be able to find some damage, but Ninum is at the right spot to get things started. Will get Pain Shelled off the mark, however. Only taking a little bit of damage. Good for 1 on the opener. Can he even creep out through the Gavin as well? No, it gets destroyed in the end. So they will be going for it as Ninum's been healed, but with no shields anymore, it'll be the 3 shot on the op.
And this split coming through from Paradox up towards the market, it could maybe work in their favor, but this rotation that Wildcard has decided to do, they've basically got all aspects covered.
And one of the things with Paradox as well, they have the From the Shadows. Likewise of Wildcard, it could be just used for some information. Don't know if Wildcard, or rather Paradox, want to deploy it in this round because it is just this sort of half buy on the pistols. A Recon Bolt's going to go a little bit too deep where RDW could be catching them all off guard. That Ice Wall is eventually going to fade as RD makes good work of Delusion. It's going to answer back with a second one as well. And this is just Wildcard taking a grasp back on this round.
2 clean kills so far, but Rice, that's ugly. Just RD things, honestly. Like, he's too clean with it, Neon.
We've seen so many individual performances already shake up the things on the table for Wildcard. We've seen big plays from Ninim. We've seen RDW get those sprays. We've seen Infrequent, you know, get some when the boost wall did come up. We've seen picks needed. We've seen utility usage go down well for Wildcard, that they're just looking very hot right now. And I mean, they've got a couple of rounds to still play within this first half. Do we see a full-out assault from Paradox? You know, there's no way to destroy the lockdown if it's in sort of a unexpected location. Already a shock dart down. So maybe that is a way that they can get in towards one of the sites and then try to hold out on a retake.
I like this position switch up from RD, but he's actually going to get punished. The Killjoy's actually wide swung him and taken him down, so an early advantage going through the way of Paradox, and that's what they need in this round. But there's just so much going on towards this B site.
Oh, Infrequent doing them dirty from the back of the site with the operator. There goes the From the Shadows as well, just in time as the lockdown will come forward. At least Nico manages to find one. This is where Wildcard have the advantage coming into the retake. They could even deploy a lockdown of their own to catch both these players on the back of the site. And as Jordan catches the Omen counterpart, despite not defused yet, there goes the lockdown. So with the plant, it does mean the Paradox are locked into the site, but through the wall, lockdown's destroyed.
Recalling my bot.
Maybe I thought in the moment to go for that positioning, but it's a little unfortunate. But now it's all just down to Nin, and we've seen him clutch it time and time again. But now he's got 2 players he has to find with the knives down. He does spot the first, and the second hiding around the corner. Delusion just going to finish him off, and that's Paradox picking up their second round.
Looked a little bit sticky from Wildcard going in for that retake. You know, I guess they wouldn't have expected the lockdown to be just destroyed. You can, of course, see it on the radar. So for Paradox, just line themselves up, get that destruction down. But for Jordan, you know, just peeking over towards the stairs, peeking over towards lane as well to find those kills. And in the 2 versus 2, when they bring it into that 2v1, they wait for Ninim to reveal himself. Couple of blades out, misses them. Easy swing to come out from the default boxes. And Paradox do get their second round on the board. Now moving into the last round of this first half. A couple of ults to play for Paradox as well. But if Wildcard find their 10th round here, that means pistol and the second round, and it's map point.
Yeah, they need to find this down, otherwise it is going to be struggle town, as you were saying. And Wizard, I like this push. He's going a lot more aggressive. You don't normally expect it. He does manage to find one, but not the second. A lot of damage inflicted though. But Paradox, they're going to just slip out towards the A side.
Infrequent catches a shot onto Jordan. The Rocket, the showstopper, will trade out RDW, at least placed in for one. Spike at the mid. They're not sure if Infrequent's pushed all the way up as well. So now that these players on Paradox are segregated and disconnected from each other, it makes things a little bit more awkward for themselves. They are at a player disadvantage as well. Do you use the Hunter's Fury to try and catch them off guard when the spike goes down? You know you're probably going to get pushed from somewhere else, and they're actually going to do that as well. So over onto the heavens, Delusion manages to find Seiko. Very well placed in it, and extra damage as well. Taking down Infrequent to 70 HP does actually make it a really plausible round now for Paradox.
I know there's one, but the issue is crossing Ninim. Look at him. He's holding it. He knows there's one player there, but he's baiting for his teammate Delusion. That is such a nice shot to hit.
That's just clinical. That needed to hit from Ninim, and Paradox just answer it. Him creeping on out, reveals his position, catches the shot, and it's all onto Infrequent. They know he was tagged by the Hunter's Fury. It's in the back of their minds that he's only on 70 HP at, you know, the least at least. So the shot to miss off the operator, catches the first one, looking for the straight out, and the second needs a headshot, but can't quite get it. It's 3 for Infrequent, but it's 3 to Delusion. And it's also 3 to Paradox, as that is going to close out the first half. They now switch over to defense. Is it going to be better for them, though?
They got 3. Neon, at least it's something that they got out of that, because that start, it wasn't really the best from Paradox, but they did manage to pick it up towards the end, so maybe they're going to be able to swing that momentum at least into the second half. I don't know. I want to see a little bit more coming out from them.
You look at the kill department for Wildcard up there. You know, 14 for Ninim. We've seen the multi-frag rounds. RD as well, 13. They're really close in the mark. And likewise with Paradox, whilst they're close, it's just all of the answerings from Wildcard. You know, you see 2 picks from Wildcard to Paradox is 1. It hasn't felt like Paradox have had a lot of the answers. And maybe that's just been a little bit of the, you know, the struggles on the attacking side. Maybe they flourish more on the defensive side coming into this map, you know. Wait and have to see. But definitely placed out for now.
Seems like they're doing a bit more of a structured push, at least out towards the ace side, and at least a wild card. No one's on the site, but they are playing a retake position, so 3 players are going to be situated and ready to go for this retake.
Yeah, well, Wildcard, they're straight shooting and storming in towards this A site. They are. Barrier wall's going to go over at the door as well. Heals on RDW. He's used them for himself. So his teammates that have had the damage already delivered to themselves are no longer without that extra HP. So a 5 versus 5 retake to come on through. You've got the recon bolt, and they've just spotted out a bunch of this information. The frenzy, so remember, there's no buff in this current patch that these guys are playing on, or rather nerf. So they can purchase it in the pistol round with that armor. As Tico and Exempt find a couple of picks into it, it's 4-4.
Oh, and that blind as well, that's huge. Ninim's going to stop jumping, and Artie and Seiko's just going to pick up one apiece. So close, Ninim, and now it's just down to a 1v2. Jordan left to try and do it all. He has one more player to find, but the time is ticking down. He's not going to have any time to go for the spike defuse.
Oh, he's got to reload as well. That's
God,
RDW's cue to jump over and catch the shot, whilst everybody will lose their life in the round. It looked messy. I'm not going to lie. There were kills going left, right, and center. Nobody knew what was happening. Everybody was jumping around. But the matter that mattered most, the point that mattered most, is Wildcard. They pick up the pistol there for themselves to get double digits. The spike down for Paradox, though, with how far behind they are, I mean, they know that Wildcard are going to be a little bit weaker, although the money to get in from the plant. They have to force here. Or do they try to crawl themselves back from a potential 11-3 if they eco?
I hope to see them get more deal. We hope to see more, but at least for now, Wildcard, they are looking really confident, at least so far this game, and this is just showing it. Paradox deciding they want to go aggressive in middle, and they're just getting absolutely slaughtered.
I'm sorry, the round just started and it's already over? I mean...
Yeah,
I get that Paradox didn't have the greatest weapon
round,
and everything, but there was no real damage even seen. I digress. We just put that round behind us, as Paradox will. Because now it's do or die time. If they lose this, they won't have the big money to go in for the next one, and that's where you would expect on paper, not to say that it won't happen, or that it will happen, that Wildcard would close it out. But for your opponent's map pick here, you know, if it does close out 13-3, that's definitely something that Paradox would not have wanted to happen. So... this is the round that they need to find here, Joe.
Revealing area.
And you got to think about the mental game as well, because especially when you lose your own pick, it's not really going to be good. But I have hope. Paradox, they can continue to try and bring this one back. They've got plenty of opportunities to do so, but you know, this round is really going to be pivotal. They lose this, and that's going to be match point to Wildcard.
Yeah, we're slow and steady. Let's see how they're going to explore things in this round. Paradox are just hiding at the back of sight. It's a bit of a slant over towards this A area. They've walled up B, and they're just going to be playing retake, and it's going to work well for them as Rice opens up for one. Ninim catches himself on through, however. Spike plant to go down. They haven't even cleared over towards Hell or over towards Short, as Jordan and Azuli shine up on that kill speed. Finally, Paradox trying to get something happening in the round. Seiko over at main. Ralph dealt with. Very well placed from Paradox.
And he's stuck in a 1v4 too. Like, he's done the damage, but Paradox, he got close. He could have found 2 there. Maybe it was possible, but they're just getting some extra rounds on the board. They're on 4 for themselves now, and it continues. Hopefully we see a couple more rounds from the side of Paradox.
It is Paradox's time to get what they need. They've got 4 rifles, 1 or 2 rather, with the light shields. They got a Zuliate on the Spectre. Maybe toying with the idea of what is actually going to come into play. So they get rifles across the board, which is well placed. Ninim's going to be bringing out the Blade Storm if they can get over into one of these ultimate orbs. Currently lined up for the B site ultimate orb. So that might suggest that they're going to be going over for a little bit of a play here. Rice's Boombot could put out some early information, and then they just act accordingly on the back of it. The door's going to be shut. They can't put up the barrier wall.
Get out
It's
of
only been
my
deployed
way.
over at A. So as those blades come out, what do Paradox answer back with?
Nowhere to run!
It's going to be such a fast push as well. But Artie, that's so
Oh, Artie.
clinical. 2 picks onto the site on the wall. That is absolutely mental.
2 picks up on the wall, 2 missed crash kills, which means 2 push-ups for crash. Of course, shout-outs for him on the observer. For Ninim right now, however, do we get things happening on the blades? This is chasing 12 rounds. There's a shot. Doesn't miss on out. He's going to get a shock dart to his body as well. Can cause the tailwind to be utilized. This time on the spike is ticking away way too far. It's infrequent. Finds Jordan. There might even be a save call for Paradox now to make sure they have some sort of weaponry into the next round. That recon bolt is going to find exempt. He's going to be punished. Just standing still, apparently, as RDW finds another clip for himself to post later on the socials. That's a 4K, and that's match point for Wildcard.
He's clean with it, Neon. He's so clean. And even, like, Artie on the Sage, Ninim on the Jet, those two have just been popping in regards to these entry picks.
Well, for Paradox, it's 8 rounds that they need in a row. Wildcard, so much breathing room here. They've even got that resurrection in case one of them loses their lives. I see that Azuliate is 2 away from the lockdown, that maybe they want to get a little bit aggressive and push through towards. There is currently a pause coming on down as a little bit of an FYI, so we will probably just wait and see. I guess the Cypher setups for Azuliate just for now, but we talk about this round, right? We've seen a little bit of a speculation at aggression from Paradox, more so when they were on their, attacking side. They tried to change this up between their slow and fast pace. We've only seen it with the little rounds that they've had on their defensive side in that pistol barrage in mid, right? Do they change it up and try on this defensive side going aggressive for themselves to get those ultimate points to catch Wildcard off guard?
I mean, it worked for Wildcard on their defensive side. I don't see why it wouldn't work for them as well, especially... Wildcard are playing a little bit more structured setup together. Like, they're not really playing more of a default setup. All of them like to group up, really just try to utilize the ultimate orbs so they can potentially get those in the later stages. And for the most part, most of these rounds, ults have been a big factor.
Yeah, well, that's one of the things, isn't it? You'd hate to see wasted ultimates be brought on forward, like we saw previously from Seiko, I guess, when he brought out that Hunter's Fury over at the A site. Azuliate caught him off guard in the flank. He manages to put the bow and arrow away, though, and catch him with the gun. But I digress. The round is live, everybody, and this could potentially be the map number 1 going over to Wildcard. Paradox, the onus is on them to climb a mountain. 8 rounds.
Maybe they can climb, maybe they'll fall, but this is going to be make or break for them, and the Alcamp going to be the one to lead the charge, and he does actually manage to get the tag as well. So the site over on B, it's open for the taking, and Wildcard are going to slowly start to trickle their way in, but Jordan is going to be out there. Does get picked up by Ninim though, but 1 kill could potentially be the factor in Paradox winning this round.
Spike planted.
Now the spike really goes down for Wildcard. The resurrection onto Infrequent as well. They're going to be expecting Wizard to be playing in at the logs. Azuliate's going to start to try and clear it on over. Delusion picks up Ninim. Ralph finds 1, finds 3, 1 through the wall. It's all down onto Exempt now. It's CTC for Ralph. That's a 4K to close it down. Wildcard will take map number 1 in a blissful fashion. That's 13-4. And what more could you really ask for?
That's all you need. That's really the simplest way of putting it. 4 kills, you don't check the corner, and bam, that's the map done.
Man, you catch the kills where we need to in the end. The logs position, you can't be overlooking it, but I guess at the end of the day, for Paradox, there's only so much they could try and do in that map there to try and bring it back. But that does mean, guys, that we around the corner, after a short little break, which we will get to momentarily, we will be going over into map number 2 between Wildcard and Paradox. Joe, on the back of, well, before we go to the break, on the back of that map, do you think we're going to see the 2-0 now?
I'd be concerned if I'm Paradox. Like, that's just me being honest. Like, heading into Haven, like, Wildcard's results have just been way too good, honestly. But yeah, I feel towards the end we saw a little bit more than what we saw at the start from them. They started to pick up the pace a little bit more, but Wildcard just overpowered them in a lot of those rounds. Like, they just seemed so much more structured, and the communication was there most of those rounds. You could see that utility really just shining through, and yeah, heading on to Haven is going to be a very difficult one for Paradox.
Indeed, it may be, especially that it's a map pick of Wildcard. But guys, we are going to take a short 5-ish minute break to go get drinks, food, give the players the same to get talking in their voice channels, of course. Don't go too far, guys, because when we come back, we will be getting into map number 2. Stay tuned. Alrighty, everyone, thank you for being patient and welcome back to the Valorant Oceania 2021 tour. Of course, we have just come back from map number 1 between Wildcard Gaming and Paradox Esports. If you have just joined us, however, or you joined us throughout that map, my name is Dion Komodo Perotta. Joining me tonight is Joseph Quick Draw Basso. And guys, I mean, hey, Joe specifically, map number 1 was a bit of a blunder for Paradox there.
Yeah, very dominant. That's really the simplest way of putting it, Dion. Like, yeah, oh god. 13-4 though. Like, Paradox kind of cleaned up what we were touching on before, but we really got to be able to see more from them to get a big point because they're looking just way too strong.
Yeah, that's indeed correct. We go into Haven next, which of course is the map pick of Wildcard's choosing. So I mean, if you look at that and think all things considered, you might be seeing the 2-0 for tonight. Potentially
so, but Haven can definitely swing back in both directions. It's one of those maps, obviously having 3 sites, that kind of brings something new to the table as well, because at least on most of them, there's always something going on in that map, whether it's, you know, just trip lines or there's teleporters, there's always something. And Haven has those 3 sites, which gives a lot more opportunity to the attacking side.
Yeah, well, speaking of the attacking side, I mean, one of the things that I've always been excited for, I guess would be the word to use here between these teams, or specifically maybe Wildcard, is the fact that Phoenix gets brought up for RDW on this map. And as I mentioned in the pregame, you know, Wildcard aren't afraid to change up their comp lineup going into these different maps. So, I mean, for Paradox, you know, it could potentially catch them off guard. Maybe more so, maybe less so than we saw on map number 1.
They seem like a pretty confident team, if I'm going to be honest. Like, just the amount of star power that's on that team, they can definitely bring a lot of different things to the table. And at least heading into Haven, just looking at their previous results, like, it's going to be a rough one for Paradox. At least they managed to get a couple of rounds, at least against Mind Freak, which I think was a 13-9 scoreline. But against over Palastrike, they got 13-0'd, which does raise a couple of questions around, I guess, what their Haven's going to be like.
Yeah, well, we are just around the corner from getting in towards the game. So it does mean it's going to be Haven here. Do you want to put your final prediction on this? Are we going to be seeing the 2-0, or do you think we're going to be going into the 3rd and final one?
I'm saying 2-0, but I hope Paradox can bring it to Wildcard in this map.
Alrighty. Well, I think I will agree with you on that one. I hope that we see more to come through from the side of a Paradox. But let's go in towards the map. Folks, it's going to be map number 2 between these 2 teams. If it goes to the distance, we go split. But for now, we are split between 3 different spike sites. It's Haven.
Bringing it on to Haven, as I was saying before, 3 sites. That's the key thing to look out for. And I'm very interested to see what these 2 teams are going to bring to the table, because so far we've seen a lot of different types of things come out from both these teams. But this is a large chance for Paradox. This is where they make their mark. Otherwise, they're going to be going home.
Well, you would hate to see a team to go down or go home, or stay home rather, as you know, we might be seeing at the current time between these guys. But it's map 2 as we've brought it in. For Paradox, potentially a little bit of a redemption needing to be seen here from that number 1. This goes here. And in that agent selection phase, you know, we see some differences that you potentially mentioned that you want to see here. We've got a Cypher in, so hopefully we see some big cameras, some great traps from Azuliet.
Love seeing the Cypher in play, Dion. I'm a big advocate for it. Played it a lot myself, but on Bind, I feel it can definitely do some good things for it, especially either towards C or 8, which at least he is going to be playing out. But Paradox starting on the defensive side, going for a fair few frenzies. No surprise there. They're just such a strong weapon, at least in this patch. But we are going to be heading into the pistol round of map number 2.
Yes, well, of course, big shout outs to Crash jumping on the observing for this. If he misses a kill, make sure you do direct it over towards him, because the banter that we spoke about previously. But for the guys in the server right now, it is, of course, Paradox, you know, as we said, chasing this one, wildcard to clean it out, take it home, and to play the winner of next team's match that we'll be witnessing later on. But for Haven, it's a little bit of a creep up over towards the C site. Nice and early. There was the pressure over at A. Now has been seen from Paradox as the alarm bot's been tripped.
The aggression is also a good thing, at least for Paradox, really gathering that early info, but Wizard, close range, is going to be able to collect one. Not too lucky on the second, but at least the squad's there to clean it up there, Dion, and they're going to be heading up towards the B site, but Delusion, that is a crucial shot to be hitting.
And you want to see more to come through from Paradox as well right now to contain the spike from being planted from Wildcard, but they have left the scene of a B, and we go over towards the A site, where we know that there was no Cypher setups here, but Paradox, or rather Wildcard, do they know that? They're checking everything right now. Likewise, of corners for the retake. It's 3-3, and that spike going down. The shock dart is going to miss the bodies of Paradox, but they've still got some smokes up on both of these teams. Wildcard technically have a little bit more, as the Jet is still alive, but as Jordan finds Infrequent, gets a leg up for Paradox.
One enemy remaining.
Shots coming through, at least from the side of Paradox, but Delusion, last man standing, 1v1. Shot dart to come through. Almost finds it, but Seiko just going to get out on top.
Needed one shot to connect there from Delusion, but shaky aim after the shock dart goes through. You know, when you're in that 1 versus 1 situation, using utility can always be unfortunate. Usually you would see the swing come on through and you would get your life taken away. But I guess in that time, it was just a little bit delayed. As the pistol round goes over to Wildcard, it does put them one leg up into this fresh round because they had the spike going down. That's a bit of extra cash for themselves. And no real answer from Paradox here. They themselves going for the A-long stack. The recon vault, it may spot them.
I really like the switch up from Paradox. Like last game, no real aggression on the defense. This time round, they're playing really, really aggressive. Like you can see both the duelists pushing up at least towards A long, and that's what you really like to be seeing, close range with these pistols.
Well, I do like to see that Paradox, they aren't overextending too far. Unfortunately, there's no Sages to be brought forward on this map, so damage done is damage done, except, I guess, for your Phoenix, who can heal in their own hot hands. Thinking about damage, the Jet over on the side of Paradox Exempt did get tagged down quite a bit as well, as Ninim will catch Rice. That is a good start for Wildcard, and now it's going to be the explosion over into C. The shot's out from Jordan, though. The right clicks will catch RDW.
Yeah, it's a good start for Wildcard, and they've still got 2 more players that are tagged down as well. So this is more than doable for themselves, but they have to find more. And Exempt picks off Ninim towards middle, so that's the ideal start for them. But Wildcard, they've just managed to sink their way up onto the site, and they're just cleaning up house.
30 seconds left.
Yeah, and Exempt is nowhere to be seen as well. Did catch the Frenzy kill over in mid-window, but now has a marathon to run over to the C site. You're just looking for damage, you're just looking for exit kills. You know that you want to lose your life to the explosion of the spike in this current situation, just to make sure you get a little bit of that extra loss bonus to come through. You're only surviving with a Frenzy at the closing of this round as well, so he will be looking for any exits over towards CT exit. Infrequent, though, is lining up for the frag. Exempt clearing corners quite passively. We'll get some damage, but no death to be seen. Wildcard 2-0. But that does mean here, Joe, that we will have Paradox buying in the new round.
Yeah, and the third round really is the test, at least of what Paradox can bring to the table. And Wildcard, respectively, this is basically going to be their bonus round with the 3 SMGs they didn't manage to maintain after last. And this aggression that Paradox is showing towards A-long, like I said it before, I like to see it, but at least on the rifles, I'd expect maybe a kill to come through if they do decide to get overzealous, but it really is just going to come down to who decides to peek first.
Also, I was noticing a bunch of light shields on the side of Paradox where the Spectres could find some quick kills for the wildcard squad, so potentially they have to be very careful at that area of fighting in this round. But with the drone going over in towards B, Angles being cleared, the trap to be destroyed as well. It is almost a retake state coming out on the side of Paradox. Like that catches one, make it 3 in the blink of an eye on the back of the curveball. No heals will be traded out by RDW, but he'll also be decapitated. This is a great round placed out from Paradox, only dropping 1, and that one got them the round.
That was massive. Like, that flashed straight through the smoke. Everybody doesn't know what's going on, and Rice just flicking around, picking up 3. That is huge if you're Paradox there, Dion, and that's going to be, you know, the momentum that we do want to be seeing from them as well.
Yeah, but can they carry that momentum going forwards? You know, it was a rocky start, it was a rocky map in number 1. They've got a round on the board so much earlier than the previous one. It was to, what, 7-0 before they finally got their first one on the board, if I remember correctly, on map number 1. So the fact that they've managed to do it in their first purchase round and now put Wildcard onto a little bit of the half-life eco state. The blades will be brought forward, the weaponry, of course, it is all here. They have the resources themselves, what they need to. But if they do lose this one, it does mean it will be an eco for Wildcard in the next. And I mean, that would be scary for them because it could mean that Paradox overtake them.
This little setup Paradox has got going, 3 players really towards Garage, just trying to pick up these players as best they can, and that's unlucky from Exempt. He got a little bit greedy there and he gets taken down by Seiko, but it is still an even game at least. 4 against 4. Seiko very quick on the trigger, could have been punished there.
Any damage that Seiko can find from here, already taken down to 70, will be very, very welcome. Shutting down the run it back did mean that there was no shields anymore for Rice, but as Dalusia manages to find 2 kills, it definitely does turn things in favor once again for Paradox's side. But I mean, don't count them out just yet. Of course, Wildcard, they've got these duelists still in action. Ninim, RDW, very well know what they're capable of. Could even see the run it back be utilized to get them in towards this side of B.
Yeah, the wire's there too, so Ninim going to be able to shoot that one out, and that's where the push is going to come out, but they don't know where any of these players are. That's the main concern. The shock dart going to do a little bit of chip damage, and it's all down to Ninim. First kill going his direction, completely misses the second. That's so unlucky.
I wonder if Ninim actually saw him on the dash. It didn't really look like it, but it definitely did take Rice a little bit to, I guess, navigate his crosshair over towards Ninim location. In the end, Paradox do manage to get the defuse, dropping 2 players. They equalize 2-2, and now it is in a bit of a half-buy purchase state for Wildcard. It looks like they want to go full force with it, just able to get everybody something in the round. You can see that there are those light shields. RDW even on the Sheriff right now. So if we see a different change of pace from Paradox, maybe they're able to catch Wildcard off guard at this round. I mean, your Wildcard, you're probably playing a little bit of a more safer route, you know, playing out towards your defaults. Looks like we're going over towards a long to start off with, the Cloudburst to get across, though Ninim gets taken down relatively quickly. No answer back just yet, peppering damage through that smoke, and RD's already been taken down to 70 HP. It's chaotic at the beginning of the round as Seiko also brings out the Hunter's Fury. The counter Hunter's Fury will be brought out as well. Everybody's using arrows in the round. RDW will get taken out. What is this round right now?
It's a mess, Dion. That's what it is. No one knows what's going on at this point. Just an absolute mess over towards the A site, and that has actually dragged the rotation of Paradox over towards there as well. So it's a little bit of a rough situation, but Wildcard, they have managed to recover. 2 picks going their way, so now they have the advantage, but there's 1 player low. That's the key thing to remember as well.
Yeah, I've just seen him frequent is 1 orb or 1 ultimate tick away from getting from the shadows. If they get that ultimate orb at the back or down A long, they'll be able to relocate themselves. If they get the pick, it would be even better because it puts a member of Paradox into the grave and makes things a little bit easier for them. Delusion comes up through short. They'll clear it out. RDW able to decapitate him extremely quickly. And look on that radar where the remaining Paradox members are. They were over at C. So that was a fake sold by Wildcard when they didn't even move.
They did well. The fake play is always going to work out as best it can, and especially in a round like this, it's going to make things difficult, but RDW, who's going to be trying to spray away, Azulate going to be able to find their back front wizard, just going to clean it up, and Wildcard, that was a very well played round from them.
I do wonder what the call was for Paradox to think if it goes back over towards C. I guess it would be the fact that Delusion's pushed all the way up through sewers, you know, and he hasn't seen anybody of Wildcard. As we know, they were all up through A long. I didn't quite actually catch it if Seiko shot an arrow over towards potentially B or C. Could have helped in selling out a bit of a fake. But regardless, I mean, Paradox, they rotate away, and Wildcard are able to clean it out, get that spike plant down, find all of the damage. RNW picked up a 3k for himself, and now, as Wildcard do retake the lead, there's a push up from the C side of things from a Paradox, and it's answered by them, with Delusion finding 2. And that is going to put the forces in favor of Paradox now.
And a triple push really paying off there for the side of Paradox. And now for Wildcard, their endeavors are going to direct them in the way of the A site. They've only got one player they have to worry about here, but he's going to be playing that retake position, so Wildcard could see themselves getting the plant down. They still do have the lockdown available on the Killjoy.
Spike planted.
Shot down.
We'll wait and see how this utility lineups are going on down to the site. There is the lockdown with Seiko getting tagged, the paranoia as well. There's so much information for Paradox in these locations of Wildcard, and look at that, it's just down to Ninim, lockdown destroyed. Ninim's location C, 1, 2. Oh my lord, making a third. No, he can't quite get it out in the clutching. He will get 3 in the round, but not 3 where it mattered. The defuse will come through for Paradox. Got a feel for Ninim. He looked sharp to find it. Definitely caught Paradox off guard.
That could have been a big round as well for Ninim there, Dion, but Paradox, they make it work where it counts. It was a bit of a rough retake, but they did manage to come out on top.
I've got you, bruv.
3-3. Couple of ults to be toyed with, couple of feelings to be thrown out from these teams. A lot of aggression, actually, from Paradox. You know, we've seen it over at the side of A, we've seen it over at the side of C, and now it's going down through mid of a B, where Seiko catches a bunch of information. Unfortunately, doesn't have the greatest weapon to be able to deal with the reveal of that algorithm, so he's going to have to call up for this round as we do navigate over towards the C site. Ninim's already in, sees that no one's here for Paradox, and they've already seen that camera be utilized as well from the side of Paradox as the Zuliate, so they know that's shut down. In the site, plant comes through, now it's onto the retake.
Yeah, they've done well to slip themselves through onto the site, but now the issue is how they're going to retake this on the side of Paradox. And a 5v5 retake scenario can be a bit of a messy one for Paradox. They can make it work, but Wizard has been able to collect the first, Nidim with the second with the knife as well. And Artie, oh, he's just going to spray it through the smoke. That's just disrespectful, Dion.
Yeah, we can't be having that one here. A little bit of magic to be thrown through from the side of Wildcard. IDW Wizard closing that one off. I just remember, you know, one of the biggest things on this map, I guess maybe in all of Oceania VALORANT, you know, Wizard's clutch on that C site with the plays of the orbital strike to come on down, and then the shots of the bullets as well. Another one, of course, the classic over at the back of C. To come down from Swirl. That was another nutty one. Lots of big things to come through on this map.
With some big individuals who like to play on a Dion, and at least this round, RDW seems like he likes to take charge a fair bit here because he has been able to open up the C side, but it's just a very generic push, honestly, from Wildcard this round, because Paradox don't really have much to work with this round.
Yeah, a bit of a generic push, but they're making sure that they're finding all of these kills without any returning damage. You haven't really seen anything delivered over to the side of Wildcard's HP just yet. Seiko's going to get flashed in as they both go into the garage, and now it is just going to be down to the last remaining soldier. The cage gave away the location. Aziliate's probably thinking, why is Wizard in spawn? But hey, you got to have someone watching flank, right?
I mean, if it's anyone, it's got to be a Killjoy, right? You got the Turret to watch it, you got him watching it. No real complaints there, honestly, from the side of Wildcard, but Paradox, they are going to be back on the rifles, which is going to be the key thing, because last round wasn't really the best for them, but at least this time they've got the Operator up on exempt, so hopefully he can start to deal that damage out towards the A long position, but it seems like Wildcard, they're thinking otherwise.
I guess maybe the word to use is a little bit surprised. With all the changes that we've seen from Paradox, we haven't really seen it be done on the back of the recon bombs come out from the server, right? They've kind of gone in 3 with pushes down through all of the sites, A long, C long, mid of B as well. They haven't really relied upon that recon bolt to get some early first information, and then just rely upon, you know, this sort of silent game for the remainder of the round. But I mean, if it's working for them, they've got a couple of rounds on the board, they'll be happy. Delusion to start off on a tagging onto Wizard. He'll find the first opener. It looks like things will translate over was the C site, where if you look up at that radar, we do have the Sova and the Phoenix and the Omen of Paradox relatively close. So they have what they need to shut down this explosion.
Revealing area.
And that push coming through is going to be massive for Wildcard, but they have lost that player early stages. And with the spike going down, that's going to allow Paradox to go for the retake, and everyone's going to be running it back towards the site, and Trade's going left and right. Wildcard doing their best to hold out the side, but Rice is so close. What a mess.
Close but no cigar.
What an
Seco
absolute
does get
mess.
traded out by Azuli. Yeah, look, a little bit of a mess in the end there. No one really knew who was looking where. You could see that RDW's, when his run it back was destroyed and faded out, that he did it from on top of the spike and with no control of the site. I think that's the big word to use there for Wildcard. They didn't have control of the site, even though they planted. Paradox were kind of just able to capitalize upon that and just run in themselves and find the kills and then get the trades. So ultimately, while Paradox do find the rounds, they carry over this operator for exempt, and they've got their rifles that they need to, but likewise a Wildcard. So we go again.
And I guess another thing to point out, like Wildcard specifically, like they've had a lot of spike plants on this attacking side. Like they haven't missed a beat so far.
Well, let's see if the caster curse comes into fruition that they do now. You got both teams from the shadows. Neural Theft on the side of Paradox. Can definitely be used on a retake if you get an opening pick. Find out where the players are lurking about. Beautiful opener though from Exempt. No answer back. Nim down. Jordan to find Wizard. This is just, you know, split out duels, single fights, going in the favor of Paradox.
I mean, it's the ideal situation for Paradox as well. Like, they need to start getting these picks, and so far on Haven, they've done better than what they did on Ascent.
Yeah, Zoliate hears that Aldrone as well, and he's going to ping that up, so there's some extra information now for Paradox. For them, they don't need to overstate things. They don't need to overstep their grounds, and you can see why. As Zoliate catches Seco, they're letting Wildcard now come into their crosshairs, and that's what you love to see when you've got a two-player advantage.
Jordan's positioning is really good as well. Like, he's playing this retake over towards B because they know they've got that 2v5 advantage, and for Wildcard, that's going to be another spike plant going down, but the issue is how they're going to hold this. It's 2 against 5, these players, they should have somewhat of an idea of where they're hiding.
Oh no, and now RD's being paid by the Aldrone as well. He's getting sprayed through the wall by Delusion. That is a flawless retake, a flawless round as a whole to come through from a Paradox. And for them, that will definitely lift their spirits. You know, we saw that it was a shaky one on map number 1. It was their map pick. They're going to Wildcard's map pick here on Haven, and it definitely is better. It's not just flawless, it's even a team ace. What do you have it? Everyone contributing where you need to. That's what we want to see for Paradox in the next 2 rounds as well, because there's 2 for this half, and in this one, there is another buy for Wildcard, but I mean, they've had buys for days. They will in the next round as well, regardless of the outcome of this one.
Yeah, they have got the money at least to invest in the next one, but, you know, 2 rounds left, at least in this half, and I'm very impressed by Paradox, actually, to say the least. This defensive side they've been playing out, they've been going toe-to-toe at least with Wildcard on these pushes, and, you know, even though they are getting these spike plants down, they're still able to at least maintain an advantage on the retakes.
Well, again, Joe, they're going for these push-ups over at either A or C, and they'll get a tag from it. RDW down to 60. He'll have to hot hands himself up to about 100. Of course, no Sage that we've mentioned earlier. Jordan to self-TP up on top of B will get spotted out, however, and that's going to be a go time for Wildcard. They've got the lockdown which they deploy. It can't be countered by Paradox, but Delusion, he's just running into the site from over at the C-Link. Will get traded out. Likewise for Ralph to find Rice, and there's a much better round to come through from Wildcard now. But we see Paradox still go for it. We saw that they had the money to do so, looking for some exits. I mean, they themselves also know that there's money on the side of Wildcard. I think at this point in time, you say you save the operator, or you just see if you can find some damage. If they find a pick, go for it. Neural Theft is being used as well, so now that they've got some information, it looks like they're going for it. Nin finds Azzy. RW will catch exempt, so they decided to go for it, Joe. But it didn't work out in the end, and it's Wildcard to at least find the half of 6 tied. But they could catch out the last round and, you know, win the half.
Yeah, they've done well on defense, and, you know, 6 rounds to 6 would be very good if you're Paradox, honestly. It's a good confidence boost, especially after Ascent, and at least as it stands, like, this aggressive play they've been playing, like, they're literally giving Wildcard a taste of their own medicine, because we saw at least on Ascent, Wildcard played such an aggressive playstyle on the defense, and it's carried over here onto Haven, but instead, it's Paradox.
Scanning ahead.
So what do we see at the beginning of this round here? Recon bolt through. No big information on the back of it. You've got that Hunter's Fury from Wildcard. Do they use that for an opener like they have in the past down through C? Exempt is going to spot out maybe RDW over at long. Not for right now as they start to line up some dark covers over to the side. Exempt drops on down. He has a little bit of a feeling that things are going to translate over towards this C site. Rightly so, is catch the first pick onto IDW. Wildcard, they aren't using that as their go time to try and overwhelm the forces of Paradox. They're just resting on their laurels and making sure now that they need to try and find these picks. Couple of missed shots. Now is the time to get in toward the side.
Looking at Frequent, he's managed to get to the back of the site. The first pick going his way, he did it just to follow it up. The C site has actually been taken, but the main concern from me, that early information has really given Paradox the advantage to try and rotate through to this site. And now for Wildcard, this post-plant situation, there's a lot they have to do.
Well, only one of those shock darts is going to work as Minim finds one on these blades. Seiko finds Rice. There's a reveal from Delusion at least, but he needs to try and find these 3 picks. It's workable. One player, full HP, the other 2, half and 1. And unfortunately, he gets tagged out by Seiko, and that is going to close out the half here. 7-5 in favor of Wildcard on their map pick. It looked a little bit strugglesome for them, not going to lie, to get some things rolling as Paradox were answering back every now and again. But we flip things over here. Are we going to see Paradox's mojo continue on their offensive side?
I honestly wouldn't be surprised if it did. It definitely worked for them, at least on defense, but offense, Haven, there's a couple of different things they could potentially do, but this time it seems like they want to group up together, which, you know, isn't, you know, the worst situation to be in. You push that side together as a unit and you can really just overwhelm. And I guess the beneficial thing as well, the A site isn't really heavily guarded by the Sentinel that is Wizard. It's mainly just a Jet and a Sova, which could easily get this early information.
Let's see what those pistols are going to be able to find right now. A bunch of classics to be seen as Seiko uses one to find Azuli. 8 will get traded out. A Ghost is going to be claimed as well. So maybe with these pistols, they do roll over Wildcard at the A side. It looks like already that the now defenders are looking for a little bit of the retake play. The dark covers the roll out. Hot Hands to Heaven will keep Minim preoccupied. And once the Spike Plant does go on down, you know that Wildcard are going to have a retake ready here. Let's see how it plays out.
Still plenty of opportunities for them, but a 4v4 retake is more than doable for the side of Wildcard. The blind to come through, but Delusion has been able to pick up 1 and a second as well. He knows where these players are going to be hiding from, but he's still got teammates to work with. Rice to pick up 1 and Delusion. Just so clean.
Yeah, he certainly is getting the job done time and time again on this side for Paradox. Picks up 3 in the pistol round, and I do believe that's the first pistol round that Paradox are able to find for themselves as well. It was one of the things that Wildcard were kind of running away with, you know. Just trying to remember over back into the first map. We missed the first pistol, but Wildcard did claim it. Paradox, though, yeah, they tried to enter back but couldn't. But for Wildcard, I mean, maybe they look at it being a tied-up scoreline here. For Paradox, though, definitely the kick that they needed to start themselves on this attacking side.
They're looking a lot more confident than what we saw previously, and that's definitely a good thing for them. But this round for Wildcard, they could see themselves maybe getting a pick or 2 on the pistols, but they have gone pretty aggressive over towards C, so early info at least gathered for them. But as soon as this wire does get shot out,
they found my wire.
I feel like that might just be the contact play for Paradox.
Yeah, well, the differences on these defensive side, of course, Killjoy and Cypher. We'll see how Azulier can utilize the traps and the cages on the offensive nature as Seiko is waiting for the plant to go down with the shock bolt. Here's the location there. There's first, second as well. Will catch Delusion. However, the spike already got planted, so the trade out technically would favor Paradox here. It does mean that they've got 4 still alive in this hold scenario. Rice on the Vandal. Is this going to be unexpected from Wildcard? Or is it going to catch him off guard rather? Certainly is. There's 2.
Enemy remaining.
It's a very heavy investment, at least from Rice this round, but, you know, it has paid off. Now it's just left to poor old Killjoy. I like the cam crash. Well done. Appreciate that.
Cyrus even looking the wrong way. Oh, no.
Yeah, look at him. He's just having a great time. You know, him and his best mate.
Yeah, well, Ralph will need to fall with
Wizard
Spike,
save him.
unfortunately, here. Only the Frenzy and the Light Shield's already tagged up, so... There we go. Tied up 7-7. Finally, Wildcard will come in, you know, with a purchase here. They didn't go all the way in the second round.
Yeah, they're doing well for themselves, honestly, and, you know, at least on the side of Wildcard heading into this one, like, they are going to have a pretty decent buy overall. The Bulldog actually going to be out IDW this round. But Paradox, they're looking pretty good, at least with their buy still. At least their bonus, they're investing a little bit more, at least onto Azure Late.
Deploying drone. Enemy.
Well, the drone gets seen, tags up infrequent. So it's a little bit of early information for Paradox right now. You know that the drone is no longer available for them though, in these sort of counterplay. The Paradox going to be perched up on top of the B site, a little bit untoward. It might catch Paradox off guard, but as they start to go in toward the site, they hit the plant. There's a real early plant as well. Nano Swarm can't quite find Exempt, only a little bit of damage. It's very rare that you see a 5 versus 5 retake on full rifle rounds.
Especially towards the B side as well, like it's so close and clustered, and with all these Paradox players out towards mid, this caused some chaos for Wildcard on the retake, and this is very pivotal. He gets punished for it too. Delusion finds the thirst.
Man, Delusion's had a really good showcase so far on all of the kills that he's been able to find in different locations, the different versatility of his weaponry as well. The shot down finds one there. Jordan's able to find Seiko. Ninim was good for one, but gets traded out by Rice. It's 3 alive for Paradox. And you know what it also is, for the first time? Paradox taking the lead.
Consecutive rounds. I think that's the other thing as well. They're doing well for themselves here.
Yeah, actually. Yeah, they're starting to find their footing, which does make it, you know, quite plausible for split, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like they've gone back to the drawing board after those seeding games. Like, you can definitely tell they've cleaned themselves up a lot more, and it is showing.
Oh yeah, especially the fact that you know, when you've got on your record a 0-13, and now you're able to argue up against Wildcard, who, you know, are one of the hottest contenders in this bracket. It's you know, definitely means that you've done something right.
A slow setup from Wildcard. They're really just deciding to a little bit more sturdy, not deciding to over-rotate as of yet, is what we just saw. But for Paradox, they're going to start working their way out towards the A-long position and potentially are going to commit to it as well. The Wires are going to be up on the flank to at least give them that extra barrage of attention and protection from the side of Wildcard. But that dart is going to give them a little bit of info.
That's a huge amount of information, especially with all these pistols from Wildcard. Seiko's found one of the heavy hitters in rank. Ninim's also got these blades out. They're overlooking his location. He finds 3 extra damage with the right click onto Jordan. No one's happy with the right click here, Ninim. But at least he got him down to 11 HP. The Hunter's Fury comes out, doesn't finalize any frags here, but they're just buying time at the moment for IDW to come out on this flank. He catches up a Vandal. And this split retake now for Wildcard could catch Paradox off guard. But they themselves, they're not even going in towards A anymore, it looks like. They want to just renegotiate and go to B.
Shadows traveling.
Yeah, but even then, this plant is actually going to be towards the A connector, so they really have to figure out where RDW is going to be coming from. Otherwise, he could potentially catch them off guard, but it does seem like they might have somewhat of an idea. Seiko going to try and find himself a pick, but they're going to manage to punish him. And for RDW, stuck in a 1v2. He manages to find the first. The second could potentially be found here. He's so low HP as well.
Going up.
Oh, those flame walls will actually nearly finish off his opponent. 8 damage if he does want to jump through them, but at the corner of it, Jordan will get seen as well. And RDW will find the 1 versus 2 clutch. I was on the edge of my seat there, you know, it's a slow retake to come through from Wildcard, but it always kind of, you know, makes me kind of grasp for air when you've got a 1 versus X scenario and you're bringing out all of utility, you know. You sometimes do get overwhelmed by your opponents, but nevertheless, Wildcard, they do find that round and they equalize 8-8. Though, look how many ultimates we've got for Paradox now. Run it back for the entry from the shadows to get information. Likewise, of you couple that with a recon bolt as well. It's a pretty good opener into a site.
Paradox was to go for a bit of a burst push out towards a site, especially on a round like this. It could definitely swing in their favor with the amount of ultimates they have got on board. But for Wildcard, they have to hold it sturdy. Otherwise, it could cause them some troubles. And Nidham, that is a very solid opening pick.
Joke's over! You're dead!
Now, that's what you love to see as well. Now it forces Paradox to answer back somehow. It's going to be the run it back up through long. We've got him frequent just lurking about on the top of the side. Does actually overlook the footsteps that were stomping down through long, which is kind of unfortunate. Maybe you want to check your ears on this one. Likewise, Nico needs to check where his darts are going, because that dart has only damaged himself. Now it's on to this retake. 4-4.
Nowhere to run!
Oh, that's huge. Look at Delusion. He wants these kills. He manages to find 1. The run it back to come through from RDW as well. And he's going to be trying to get these picks, but Delusion again, just picking up another for his troubles. And poor Nidham trying to find an opening for his teammate, but it's just not going to happen. They're forced to save.
Now, it was a very well-placed paranoia to come out from Jordan there. You could see that RDW was kind of forced to bring out that curveball, try and flash over his opponent's wildcard. They were just caught out by all of the utility from Paradox in that round, really, you know, and a little bit of that stampede just going down through long. But then again, it was on the back of the runner-back, right? So you could technically call that was utility. Very well-placed from Paradox regardless, however you look at it, to gather their 9th round on the board, surviving with 4, padding a little bit of their money. Will set them on the right path to try and close out this map in a victory.
I think the best part, at least, about that one as well, like, they managed to only use 2 out of the 4 ultimates, which is good, and what makes it even better, at least for Paradox, they made it work. Like, both of those players managed to find themselves a pick, which is really what you want to be seeing, especially when you use that, because it just takes so long to build that up.
Here.
Well, we do have a pause coming through for the moment right now between these teams. I am just waiting to see what type of pause it is. So it does seem like it is a technical one at the current time. So we might be in for a little bit of a long haul here. Hopefully not. It is coming through from Paradox as well. So if I'm remembering correctly, one of the Paradox players had an issue with their internet, which was the cause of the pause in map number 1. So hopefully it gets remedied very quickly. And, well, we're able to go back live right now, so not long whatsoever.
Very quick. Just Crash giving us an inside peek of Jordan's face.
Here.
Personally, I'm not a big fan of Omen's face. I wouldn't really want to get up and close with him. He would just scare me.
You know what I want to know? I actually want to know if there's going to be more lore behind Omen, you know, the Omen story. Because I speculated once upon a time, right, that it's Yoru, but with, like, in the future... you know, covered up as well, because the color scape is similar. A couple of their abilities are similar. You know, you can make a story for it.
No, they're both teleport. I can definitely see where that logic comes from. Hopefully, you know, we get some more info on that. But at least for now, like, Paradox still have this lead, but they are playing this a little bit slower than before. And Wizard, that is a nice peak to come through to kick things off towards the B side.
No charges.
And the paranoia is only used to buy time right there. They don't need to peek on the back of it. Regardless, Ralph, Mr. Wizard, will look to do so as RDW catches them on a little bit of a flank. That's info on towards Sova, and Delusion's going to be dealt with. They now know where Jordan is, caught out by the blind. Manages to find out W, who was already low, but infrequent, will shut it down. So starting to go tit for tat in these rounds here, Joe. 9-9. A lockdown available for wildcards. Still those ults on the flip side, but you look at the scoreboard here. Look at the disconnection on the side of Paradox in that kill department. Delusion. Not even on an entry character, you know, a duelist. Leading the charge.
He's putting up numbers though. Like most of the scenarios, at least when they were on like their defensive side, like he was really good with the shock darts. Like in most rounds, he got the early damage and just managed to pick them off. And even the ults, as you were saying, like he got so many kills with that as well.
Well, hopefully it can carry on. You can hear those darts starting to come over onto the site. I love that double dart setup onto the top of the site. You know an operator's potentially here from Ninim. Just the read into that. It's kind of an unfortunate thing, though, as well, at the same time, that you can hear those darts. Because imagine a world where Ninim couldn't, right? If he stays there, he's gone. Out of the round, straight away.
You can see them too, which, you know, like you see some big blue thing flying at you, you're like, oh yeah, I'll just move to the left.
If you scoped in.
I mean, yeah, you have a point. I feel like the sound cue's kind of just given away a lot more, as you were saying, but it's a smart idea, to say the least.
It's one of the big things, though. You need to find the trajectory of them nice and early, otherwise they can catch you off guard. Speaking of, Infrequent's been given a lot of ground space here, TPing over a potential wire that would have been over to A, which, you know, he has done. He has gotten it. He could get through them. They're not deep enough, but you disregard what's happening on the lurk state because there's a couple of kills to be found from Paradox over on the site themselves, and they have managed to get into the site. The flank is still possible in a retake.
30
the
seconds
lockdown
left.
here too.
Spike planted.
Bomb grenade out.
This could be very good for them as well. Like Infrequent on the flank, especially with a block down. He needs to be locked up at least towards C long, and he needs to find at least one. He finds two for his troubles, and now it's just on Rice alongside his teammate to try and clutch it out. But they know he's going to be situated here. But Cypher towards Garage, they don't know he's here. But this is such a difficult scenario, and the defuse
sticking it
just way too easy for Wildcard.
They've just held the defuse there because technically it wasn't poised up for long. As soon as Infrequent's found those 2 kills, they know that Rice isn't going to be able to peek out through C cubby because they still have Infrequent lurking around long. That was just a really thought out and fleshed out retake to come through from Wildcard. Not a single step wrong in that retake, completely honest. And as soon as they, you know, they've called for the stick of the defuse, they've gone with it. They see where Azuliate is, and then they just know that they can stick it, right? There's no line of sight from Garage over in towards where the spike was. So now that Wildcard find that round, look at the credits, look at the purchase to come through from Paradox. It is scrappy.
It's a very confident round, but now for Paradox, it's just a very ugly buy overall. Like, they haven't really got much to work with other than the pistols, and at least for now, Artie kind of getting peppered a little bit. He's a little bit too close for comfort, but manages to sneak away. But Paradox going to be working their way out towards the A site now, and there has been a very early rotation from the Sober that is going to get this up.
Yeah, we'll see how the shock darts are going to come out from Seiko if he wants to attempt them as well. I thought Exempt was going to updraft himself up in toward the heavens, but not to do so. Seiko finds Jordan, exactly knows where the plant is as well. You keep going for that one wild card and you're not going to get it done. Double shock darts down now. At least Exempt is able to get out of it, but the recon bolt could catch them off guard. Looks now to be a retake in favor of Paradox with 4 members still lurking around the side. Though I say that, Azuliate on the flank, I was waiting for it, finds Wizard catching them off guard. No answer yet from Wildcard. They have a flank of their own. Infrequent again. Catch off Rice in Hell. Blades to be missed. 30 HP. Dealt with by Ninum.
Oh god, look at this flank. This is such a large rotate from the side here. And Delusion picks himself one, but so close. Not going to be able to find the second. And now Azulate by himself in the 1v2. Needs to try and find himself these picks, but they know where he's hiding. They can stick it. This is all but done. Wildcard. They find themselves in 11th.
Yeah, as soon as they find out where Azuliate is there as well, you know that the spike is just going to be held. The smoke was already deployed around the spike, so you've got that safeguard in case he came back up through short. Seiko is jumped up onto the heaven, just trying to find out that information in the end, and as soon as he sees Azuliate, he's just toying with him. He's just making sure he can wait out the spike defusal and Wildcard catch the round. It was a good, you know, involvement play from Paradox as a whole to get the spike down, to get the flank happening from Azuliate. I think, though, maybe they've just overcomplicated it, because once Azuliate found that kill over in Link, he kind of just went back and ran all the way back through mid-window, back over towards Long. So if he stayed at spawn, maybe it could have been a different turnout.
It was a bit of a gamble. That's really the simplest way of putting it. But at least this round, what I like from Wildcard, they've got 2 operators this time, which is a nice switch up. We haven't actually seen that as of yet.
Well, let's see if it is going to help them out or if it is going to be to their detriment, because there is still Paradox very, very hungry for these rounds. They've got to purchase for themselves. They are waiting very patiently See if anyone of Wildcard will overstep their grounds. They start to navigate towards
slow.
the, I guess you could say correct site here, Joe. If they could catch the timing off onto Seiko, he does narrowly just get back out through long. So you got 5 plays for Paradox here. Certainly a numbers advantage over towards A.
They're going to be able to hear them out too, so that rotation is going to start to come through, and then that was so close to being able to hit at least one there, but Paradox, Spike is going to go down, and the ult to come through from the Sova as well, trying to at least find something, as Seiko is going to get some tags up.
Not only the tags at the back of it, the Spike goes down in a 5-5 scenario. Both Hunter's Furies are down, but RDW on the run it back could lead the charge for Wildcard. Minim on those blades as well. He's still got all 5 readily available, though that Paranoia now used with no damage coming out is brilliant. RDW burns the Affiliate Ultra. Hopefully seeing here, reloading for Rice will get the better of him. 3 versus 2, the darts reveal locations. They need to get on this Spike though, relatively soon as Delusion loses his life. The Blaze Wall comes on up. Exempt has to force the issue now. An Operator and a Dash available is not the greatest. The Quick Scope is going to come out but miss. They're both off it. The damage was dealt and the rifles are better than the Operator there. That's the defuse. That's Wildcard. On a point now that will illuminate Paradox if they find it.
Match point.
A pivotal round for Wildcard there, Dion, and at least as it stands, the double operators didn't really do as much as I thought it would, if I'm going to be honest, but heading into this potential last round, Paradox, they've still got a semi-decent buy overall, but Wildcard are looking a little bit cleaner towards the end. Like, they had such a delayed start in this game, but now 4 consecutive rounds they've managed to retake, and this could spell disaster for Paradox.
Careful now.
Yeah, well, it could spell disaster. Their weaponry certainly is very unfortunate. Minim is not going to help their case by finding Azuliate. They're going to force out the run it back now to see what they can do as well to get back in towards somewhere. The Nanostorm's going to tickle away a bunch of damage through the smoke. Minim on the back of it. It will get... No, it fades away at the wrong time. Infrequent RD. This might just be done and dusted. A 2 versus 5. IW some shots. Catches Jordan though. And as Wizard closes out on Exempt, that is the GGs coming through in the chat from everybody. That is Wildcard taking a 2-0 victory over Paradox.
Defenders win.
Haven, not exactly the most confident win, at least for Wildcard, but Paradox, I got to give them credit where it's due, Dion. Like, that was amazing from them, honestly. I'm very, very proud of their efforts.
Yeah, no, I am agreeing with you on that one. You know, it was a much better showing from them in that one completely. Yeah, you look at the first one, it was 13, to 4. This one turning out, you know, those rounds in the middle of the map there, going back and forth, you know, you're really feeling like Paradox are going to be able to show through something for us in those rounds. But I guess at the end of the day, Wildcard are able to take that 2-0.
Yeah, unfortunately, we don't get to see Split, but overall, that series did actually deliver. They did very well, Wildcard. They looked like the strong team we did see. Haven, I think it wasn't as structured, I'd argue, in comparison to what we have seen from them, at least so far in this event. But Paradox, I think they'll bounce back. I wouldn't be surprised if you see them in their next close quals as well.
Yeah, well, of course, they can go back into those next close qualifiers and have at it again. But for those of you that may have just joined us, we're bringing on up, of course, it is Paradox now getting eliminated against Wildcard in that 2-0 variety here. So, guys, we are going to be going to a short break, maybe a little bit more of an extended one before we get into the next match that will be coming forward. So we'll leave you guys for approximately 10 minutes and then we will be back. So guys, don't go too far because we do have another best of 3 that is going to be really exciting. Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to the Valorant Oceania Tour for 2021. Of course, if you are just joining us and don't actually know who we are, we'll reiterate it. I'm Dion Komodo Porter. Joining me tonight is Joseph Quickdraw Basso, and we have just witnessed a best of 3 where we have said farewell to one of the teams, and we have said move on forward to the other one. Of course, that's Wildcard going forward. And Paradox shutting on themselves down to go into, hopefully we see them in the next qualifier as well. Joe, Are you happy with the outcome of that match? Did it tickle your fancy?
I would say it's expected, as we did establish in pregame. But as I said before, like I'm very, very interested to see how this Paradox team does go moving forward. Obviously, they get 2-0'd by Wildcard, which for a lot of people was expected, being one of the major favorites coming into this. But I really want to see more from them heading forward, and I feel they could potentially even get they could get better overall as well, which could definitely benefit them long term.
Well, speaking about moving on forward, let's see what the rest of the week is going to be shaping up for, as well as just this next best of 3. So, of course, here we do see that Wildcard has gone on forward, and Paradox has, we've had to say farewell to them. And then we'll be seeing Kanga and Order relatively soon in the next few minutes. And I mean, if we do bring it back on to us, it is going to be aligning, I guess, maybe a little bit earlier from what we've been expected for this game to start off at. But hey, we welcome games a little bit earlier if it doesn't go into that full final BO3.
Yeah, and I mean, this matchup, I am extremely keen for. Both these teams have just been blitzing it, at least recently, and Kanga specifically really showing up, honestly. They had a pretty good match against Wildcard, 2-1 loss, unfortunately, but they looked really strong in that one. In Order, where we've seen them perform time and time again, but at least in this event, they seem to be on a, they're not as confident, I'd say, as what we've seen before.
Well, speaking about the rosters, why don't we have a look at them and see who we are going to be witnessing coming on forward in towards this next matchup. Of course, it's Kanga, as previously known, I guess, the Crockers.
Oh, Crockers, Rip and Tear +1, whatever you know these boys as, but these guys are a force to be reckoned with. And the other day when I was watching these boys play, they have a lot of good things to bring on board. And with the addition of Clutchy as well from that old Gravitas team, this is just a force to be reckoned with.
Exactly right. Looking forward to some big things. Of course, we have already seen a world in which Kanga had been able to best up Order before. Speaking of, let's check out what the Order lineup is looking forward for us tonight. Of course, Tux, Texter, Dick Stacy, Autumn, and Disco. Expecting some big things from them.
Yeah, these boys have a lot to play for. They were arguably one of the 2 top teams in the region for a very long time, but at the moment, they need to reclaim their throne, because in this event, they have a lot to play for.
Yeah, you're exactly correct, and if they are able to beat this one up over Kanga, then they will be going over to face Wildcard later on. But before we do get into that, our head-to-head battle today, Koro and Texter. It'll be interested to see how these guys line themselves up on their assistive variety, I guess you could say, when it comes to these matches, because we're kind of expecting these guys to be on those smoking agents.
And both these players have been quite a good addition to these rosters overall. And quite frankly, this matchup is really just going to come down to who's going to frag out the best. And at least between these 2 players alone, they've done pretty well the same thing, at least across the board in regards to stats and even in regards to how they like to play.
Yeah, well, speaking, I guess, then against how they like to play, let's figure out which maps we are going to be witnessing on for these guys. Are we going to be getting the same maps as previously? Are we going to be going into some new ones we're bringing on up? And we're going to be seeing guaranteed 2 new maps, actually. Split and Bind. So I'm happy in that regard, to be honest.
I'm cool with it. Ascent 3rd map. We don't have to see it in the first 2. I mean, I don't know about you, but it's always a good veto if there's no Ascent first pick.
Yeah, it's one of those ones, isn't it, that it's, everyone's essentially comfortable to play Ascent. It's like your quote Dust 2 of your Counter-Strikes, I guess you could say, now coming in toward it. I think I'll be more keen to see when we do get 2 more maps in Valorant, if Ascent continues to be that one that kind of just dominates the space in, I guess you'd say, that BO1 scenario, but also coming a lot into that BO3 area.
Yeah, I feel there needs to be a little bit more variety for the maps, but that does come with time, obviously. But the maps we have got at the moment, they are quite good. Unfortunately, not seeing Icebox as of yet. I have my heart, hand on my heart for that one. I really want to see it at some point, but I'm very, very happy to see these 3 maps overall. Bind can definitely deliver some good games.
Yeah, you're not wrong about that one. So whilst we do just wait for the go-ahead for these teams to start off on that matchup, it means that we can touch upon who's picked what and why here, Joe. So Order coming into Split first is what we are going to be seeing.
Yeah, I really can't say I'm surprised. Like, these guys do like a little bit of split, and even in the past, in regards to Bones specifically, for those guys to have looked somewhat confident on that map as well. But at least I really want to see Order do the best they can, because at least in the seeding matches, they were a little bit on the rougher side of things. But both these teams, I would argue, at least at the moment, I would consider them maybe on the same playing ground at the moment.
Yeah, you're not wrong about that one by any means. But of course, we're going to be going into Split now as the game is ready to go ahead. Let's bring it on forward and see how we turn it out.
Well, all the changes coming in as well, Dion. That's the other key thing to mention as well, because a lot of people may not have seen the changes on Split which have happened, and that has decided to spice things up a little bit on the map and how it's played. So it is going to be rather interesting to see how these teams do adapt to those changes.
Adapting to those changes indeed, of course, but we don't have those Reina changes because coming into these guys, we're expecting a Reina to be brought forward.
Shortly, we are going to be getting into things, and quite honestly, Dion, I wouldn't be surprised if we see a little bit of variety on the board for both these teams, because as it stands, it's a very diverse map. That's the simplest way of putting it, and Crash, we do love to see it. Little bobbleheads just sitting on the side.
Well, of course, that's going to be the prelude to
He
the
loves it.
next skin pack that comes on forward.
I'm actually kind of keen to see some of those new ones come through. Obviously, you can purchase them if you like, but I like the variety this game has to offer. Let's put it as simple as that, Dion. There's a lot of different skins in this game, and they all come with their own little special traits.
Well, here we do go in towards a Split. Kanga on the defensive side, as we already touched upon. Order. Damn, that pick of choice already. A wall to be deployed over at A. Ulti Orb to be gathered on up. Seeing the stages be brought forward on Split, I always do welcome that. A Brimstone as well for Order. I absolutely love that. But Clutchy, he's going to get a big dink over onto Order's Killjoy to start things off.
Yeah, good start overall, but at least for the side of Order, they have got the Sage, which is going to get a little bit of heal on towards, Kanga towards. But at least as it stands at the moment, Order is playing this very slow, which I do like to see. They're not playing for that fast adaptive push, as you might typically expect on Split, but the slow game could maybe work in their favor. But that info dart, not going to be able to get as much as it wants, but Clutchy, the first point of contact, not going to be able to find text and open things up.
And now it is all about getting that spike planted down if you are Order, though through the smoke void does peek on out, equalize 2-2. Razor's alive. Killjoy and Brimstone on that trade, but Disco manages to find Luki, and now it is just on to Voided. Disco even goes for the repeat. Not even trying to get the spike planted at that point. They just want the kills to be calculated, and they do so as well in the end with the Frenzy, which, I mean, if you're playing in the ranked state, it's not going to be like that anymore with the shields and the Frenzy, but for now, well, they've been experiencing it for the past quite a while, you know, the last few weeks, really, when it's been the big thing that's on everyone's minds. So, and Kanga would have been expecting it, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, Frenzy armor, pretty stock standard, to say the least, especially with how the teams like to perform, at least these days, with those pistols. But Kanga not really wanting to invest anything other than one light shield, which I do respect. Don't really want to waste money on a round like this, especially when you know your opponents are going to be on those SMGs.
Yeah, well, speaking about those SMGs, they technically can be answered by some Frenzies. It's going to be a classic, apparently, to start things off for Void, as Clutchy does lose his life in the mix. 3 alive for Kanga, and they're all over on this B site. Texter finds one. Is he going to get the remainder of them as well? They're just trying to jump on through, and Disco will be there to steal both of them. Greg also good for one that we will mention, but we throw those 2 rounds behind us essentially now if you're a Kanga player or a Kanga fan, because it does mean that they have their big old rifles behind themselves now, and this is where we are hoping to expect them to get on the board and to make this a really big contested map.
Right here.
And at least for the side of Order, the SMG is still maintained through into this round, so a nice little bonus to come through from then, and Orton actually deciding to go with the Frenzy, which can't argue. honestly, having that one pistol, not wanting to waste too much money into this round. But for the side of Kanga, this is where they have to start performing. This is where they have to turn up. Otherwise, we could see Order potentially finding themselves a third.
Well, utilize these submachine guns in the close proximity duels, and you might be able to pepper out some brilliant damage. Order, they've got a lot of control in through mid right now on the back of that single sky smoke going over into the mail room. The Molotov as well is going to get a little bit of a time to be ticked away. Texter gets tagged up by the recon drone. Order haven't really decided exactly where they want to go. Starting to maneuver over towards the B heavens, but they don't have to go through with it if they don't want to. They still do, of course, have that little lurk rotating around in Texter's Sage back through B main, so they can go back towards mid at least for now, and Killjoy eventually is going to ult on over as well. So we will line up for the B site here. Can Kanga contain?
Yeah, they have at least managed to get control of mailroom for the time being, but Kanga, no one's really contested as of yet, but the wall to come out at least towards B main, maybe dragging a bit of attention, has allowed his teammates to walk through, and Lukey, Hughes has found one, Cora onto two. It's an absolute mess over on the B side. Now just down to that 3v3 situation now, Texter has gone for the res. And Order, they have the advantage, but they've lost it partially as well. It's so close.
Oh no.
One enemy remaining.
I'm very confused as to why they've gone back up and towards heaven with the spike in hand, but it doesn't really matter now as Texter's able to find both of the remaining frags and mop it back up for Order. Man, you really had to feel for it then if they both went up to heaven and both just lost their lives over towards the Sova and Greg. Well, potentially they would have been spewing, but quick draw, that does mean here that the first rifle round we've seen from Kanga, Order have been able to shut it down.
Yeah, it's a dud, and for Kanga, that's not going to be good for them. Order looking very strong, at least in these first 3 rounds, and the confidence has to be flowing through their veins at the moment, and it does seem like we might have a pause actually coming through. Yeah, time is not moving, so I wonder what's going on here.
Well, maybe we'll just wait for it for a little bit longer. Hopefully it doesn't take too long. There we go. It's already been undone. So a tactical for Order that they potentially didn't really need too long for.
Little tactic talk. Not a concern, you know. They're confident enough to go forward with it, but with Kanga this round, Dion, we need to see them potentially find a couple of kills.
The tactic for Order right now, send in the big guns and just go shoot. They've already been able to do it for 3 rounds, even though they've been close.
Flex your muscles. That's the simplest way of putting it. For a team like Order, they've got a lot of star power on this team that can potentially bring it to Kanga, but at least in a round like this, Order does have that advantage, and they're going for a straight push out towards the A site, but they have got a couple players they have to find here, especially Void, who's finding a way towards Elbow, going to get punished by Order.
Void got a dink away as well. You'd hate to see that one, but now it does turn into the retake scenario. The resurrection available for Kanga, but they're not going to be able to utilize it just now as Dick Stacy manages to find Koro. The smokes are down for the side of Kanga, and in toward this retake, that could be a really tricky thing. Autumn finds Clutchy, trying to spray it down onto Lukey, but the trade will come out, and now it is just down to the aforementioned player who will be meeting the graveyard now as 4 alive for Order as they find their 4th round.
As you were saying, just run and gun, just have the big guns and shoot, and Order really just displaying that at the moment. And now, they managed to maintain a 4-0 lead for the time being, which is quite significant, at least on their attacking side. And for Kanga this round, they're back on the guns, but we need to see a little bit more from them at the moment, Dion, because so far, Order really have just been overwhelming them with numbers.
Yeah, it feels like Kanga are just conceding a lot of this control, specifically over towards mid as well. They're getting out their barrier orbs over to the side of A, trying to just capitalize on getting that ulti orb there to get the res. But now that they've got that, you know, what are they doing to change things up? Finally, they're taking some initiative into the game, but they do get met with the barrier wall of Order, and the showstopper is met with nothing. Disco even finds Void.
It's a little bit unfortunate there for Void. He had the right idea, but just not in the right place. And, you know, Greg trying his hardest to try and find this pick out towards sewers. But Lukey, he's in a pretty good spot for himself at the moment, trying to potentially find himself another play. Key thing is the Killjoy. It's already slipped through.
Oh, one player's going to get detained from that as well. It shouldn't matter too much, all things considered, because Kanga aren't really available for the retake. Sky Smoke do go down again. It'll buy 20 seconds of coverage for Order to get that spike planted. Stacy will do that. The Nano Swarm on the spike as well from Tux. I love the lineup possibility from a Brimstone when it comes to these maps with that Molotov. But for right now, I mean, Order, they've already got control of the site. They don't need to do anything too ambitious. Autumn's just going to dismiss away after finding Greg. Disco's location has been unknown, that he's able to find 3. Corey not even really moving his crosshair after the back of that kill. And as Dexter finds Clutchy, it's flawless for Order. Really looking to put a statement on this map pick of their own.
Yeah, just a very confident round overall. Even with Disco on the flank there, just finding himself 2 really simple picks as well. Not a single player on Kanga was aware of that whatsoever. And now we're going to be able to see the tactical timeout actually come through from Kanga, having a chat about what they want to do, because at the moment, it's really not looking too good for them.
Yeah, it's... I mean, once upon a time, you think of Split, you think it'd be very defender heavy, but with all of the recent changes that are opening up a bit of B main, mid a little tatting, and over towards the heavens of A as well, you know, it really has, in the sense, become that attacker-sided, especially for aggressive teams that utilize their numbers advantage. And when you've got, you know, Autumn leading in the charge with those Leas and the rest of the team just kind of watching all their angles, you've even got Texture just really, you know, being that battle sage and picking up the slack right now for Order. They're really just working cohesively and shutting Kanga down before they can even get anything happening. Even the opening kills, right? Order have really just been able to find them, and the one round that they haven't been able to is just answer back straight away.
Yeah, I mean, you've basically summed it up. Like, at least for Order, they've just looked so much more confident and structured in their play style. And really now for Kanga, it's about redemption. They need to start finding these rounds here. Otherwise, Order's just going to consistently find this momentum and just make it ever so harder for them to get back into this game.
Yeah, well, it is definitely the time that we want to see Kanga get back into it, as that tac pause does come out and into the live rounds. Kanga have changed things up by getting in towards the ropes area, but just look at that. Clutchy caught not even in the open, just hiding in a different angle that Order will clear dry, essentially. The Molotov thrown in, and they take off his head. There's no res now available for Kanga. There's no heals for Kanga. They have to try and do something sneaky to catch Order off guard. And it looks like their answer to that is playing your smoke in B main, but Order are waiting it out. They themselves are not giving up round, but as I say that, there you go. They can't throw through.
My ult's not ready.
Very predictable, at least from what you can see on the side of Order. They had somewhat of an idea they were pushing through, and now for Kanga, a 3v5. There is that lurk player in Dick Stacy towards middle, though, which Void does seem to be somewhat aware of. And it's going to make it ever so harder for Kanga to get into this side, especially on these guns. And with Dick Stacy trying to find himself some picks, he's actually going to get shut down by Greg. Not exactly the most ideal situation, because that's going to be a Vandal recovered for Kanga.
I think you even just take the Vandal in toward the next round if you possibly could, but Disco and Texter are going to find the kills simultaneously. Put it on to 6 rounds now, where they at least tie up the half, regardless of, you know, if they lose the next 6 rounds. But the way that they're going, I mean, touch wood for Kanga, it kind of looks like Order are on the roll for a 13-0, which I didn't think I'd be saying specifically that we've seen a lot of presence and pressure from Kanga in the past. We've even seen Kanga beat Order in the past.
Yeah, and I mean, the key thing as well, it just really seems like a bit of rinse and repeat, at least from last series as well. Like, they're having a one-sided lead and then bringing it back potentially, but Order just bringing something really different to the play field. Like, they're just looking so much more confident in how they're playing.
Yeah, well, let's see how they're going to tackle out this round. Of course, the deep dark cover from the side of Kanga will allow them to cross over towards Rafters, as Autumn is just going to find Greg 150 damage through the wall. And as Dick Stacy finds Void and Koro, this is just absolutely going in the control of Order. Yes, Clutchy can get a kill onto Disco and get a resurrection somewhere, but look at where all those kills were. They were all in mid. They're over towards A. That's in the control of Order.
Standing.
Lukey, that's unfortunate. A bit of a whiff spray there, but now just down the Clutchy. He has recovered that Vandal as well, which he did manage to pick up towards B main. But
Spike planted.
It's, you know, it's really not the round you want to go for it, and exactly what Clutchy's doing is at least trying to find himself some exit frags. But once again, Dion, like, Order just looking so much more structured in how they're hitting these sites, and Kanga are really struggling just to hold on.
Yeah, struggling to hold on, but they're doing so with one finger instead of a hand as well right now. You know, they can just get toppled over very quickly by order. Even just a breath of air will do so. Clutch is looking for an exit kill. Can't even do that, unfortunately. Tucks his wise to the fact, and that's 4 alive, 4 order. You just got to feel for Kanga, I think, at this point. You know, we know the powerhouse that order can be. We know that they are trying to reclaim their throne in the region. But, I mean, if you're a team like Kanga, you've got the firepower to try and tackle against them. We've seen it done, as I have said, but with nothing coming out in the back of it. I mean, we've seen a spike plant go down more times in these rounds than we can count, I guess, in them. They've all been eliminations at the end of it. So even though they're getting those objectives done, you know, it's not even like we're seeing retakes from Kanga because they don't have the bodies to throw in for those retakes. Order are just finding them before that fact.
Yeah, and even in a lot of these scenarios, like Order's just playing more of a default structured setup as well. Like it's just divide and conquer from what we're seeing from them. Every single time they split, they find themselves a potential pick, and around like this as well, you're seeing it again. Like Autumn again is just so free. He manages to walk his way up into vents, and he can prevent that rotation towards B if he wanted to.
Yeah, well, 1 minute on the clock to go. Void lurking in the ropes with a stinger. Autumn just making sure he doesn't trip over his own feet going into these ropes. I wonder who's going to pull the trigger first. Is it going to be Void or is it going to be Autumn? As Order all do start to maneuver over to this A site, the U2 will bust down. Is that going to be Autumn's time, though, to go in? Orbital strike from Dick Stacy over towards the greens. This is the bust out. As Void does actually manage to defend Autumn. So the first hit going in the way of Kanga. Make it the second as well. It's answered back, though. Almost tenfold. Even the resurrection now. It's on the Clutchy. Just Clutchy to bring it back.
There was an opportunity there for Kanga to try and open things up, but unfortunately, it just didn't manage to recover themselves. And poor Clutchy, as you were saying, by himself with the stinger in hand. I really don't like his odds in this round. He can maybe try and pick off a player if he gets lucky enough, but anything more than that, it's going to be rough for him.
And even finding that one pick, it's not a scenario where you can justify getting him that resurrection. Going for the retake, Spike took away too far. Order already being stabilized in their 3 players around the site. So the Kanga, I mean, I kind of would welcome a bit of a tactical pause to come through right now, just so they have some time to get their heads together and try to figure out what Order are actually doing. Because all of these rounds, you know, we see the sort of standard defaults come through, but then Order, they're deciding on a play and they're just executing it flawlessly. By Order. Way, turret destroyed, missed shot from Lukey, and he can't get it done either. It's all down to Koro, who gets decapitated, and that is a flawless round from Order. 10 unanswered rounds, and I'm kind of asking, where's Kanga right now? Where is the Kanga that we know?
I don't really know how to put it down. Like, I'm just lost for words at this point.
It's not to disconnect. It's not to detract from the good work rather that Order have been doing, because they've been, you know, really counteractive. They've been really productive in finding these opening picks, working with them. If they don't, they're answering back with not 1 but 2.
I mean, in a lot of these scenarios as well, like everything Kanga tries to do, Order's there to combat it, like every single time. There hasn't really been a scenario where Order has not had the man advantage so far in this series.
Fire in the hole!
Kill. 1 enemy remaining.
Your duty is not over.
Last player standing.
Well, even just around like this, I mean, we watch it out for this one to see if we have an answer from Kanga, and, well, not a single kill to be seen just yet. Clutchy, unfortunately, can't get anything done either. So, 11-0. You really got to feel for him. I mean, Joe. What can Kanga answer back with? It's a defensive side of split. Usually you see a lot of things here.
I think we're trying to pause to fix the stream up. Potentially. I'm a bit confused.
Well, we just roll on with it. Looks like we are getting confirmation that we've got a little bit of a pause for right now.
Roll on to a 0-13 scoreline.
Well, I mean, if someone didn't want to see a 13-0, then, or if someone did want to see a 13-0, they potentially might not be able to right now with the way that this is going. While we just wait. We'll bring up the scoreboard, see where everybody's at right now. I actually want to calculate, you know, how many, yeah, what we've seen from Kanga really here. No one double digits, 3 for Void Clutchy Koro. Even that assistive area, you know, that's one thing that I thought I'd want to look at here. How much assists we've seen to come through from Kanga, and really it's nothing. I mean, all of these opening frags have just been found by order.
Yeah, it's rough. That's really the simplest way of putting it down. Like, there's no situation where Kanga has had the end, and in a lot of scenarios, Order is just absolutely demolishing these guys. You know, heading into defense on their map pick, I am going to be so afraid if I'm Kanga.
If this does result in a 13-0 right now over towards Order, I think for Kanga, it's just the biggest thing for them to just throw this map away and forget about it, and then just play like it's a new best of 3 and win 2-0.
Yeah, that's really the biggest factor in it as well. You can just excuse it, move on to the map that you actually picked, which is going to be Bind. And Ascend is that third map, and you know, if they can bring it to it, there is an opportunity for them, but it's not all but done. We've seen plenty of comebacks in the past on this map from this type of scoreline, at least from what I've seen, but for Order, they're just going to keep doing what they're doing.
Well, there we go. They've gotten the opening picks, so they're looking to get some even more. 5 alive for Kanga and 2 for Order. Resurrection available, however, and if this is the way that you wanted to see things to be brought back, why not do it after a pause? A technical pause on our end. Kanga will welcome that. Order, maybe not so much, but is it too little too late here, Joe? It's the last round of the first half. 11-1. I mean, is it different than 12-0? Technically, yes. Interest in this game, maybe not. Oh, Clutchy evenly find 4.
It's 1. It's 1. It's 1.
It's 1 round on the board. That's
1.
it.
We're happy. We're all good. Kanga fans, give me the top of your lungs. They managed to get 1. There's still so opportunities for them to potentially get more as well.
On my mark. Here.
Alrighty. New pistol rounds. If Order find it, that's 12. And you know that Kanga are going to have to force up. But if Kanga find it, it could be the start of something new. It could be the thing they needed to get themselves in this game. Hey, maybe it's just an extremely attacker-sided map now for competitive play.
I mean, Order is proving it to be so, but heading into the second half, Kanga, they are going to be the ones on the attacking side, and it's not exactly the best start. Everyone's getting punished at the moment on the side of Kanga. So much damage being done as well to these players.
Killed my bot.
Well, the pistol round, Joe, is not really going Kanga's way, unfortunately. It's 2 alive. Clutchy's waiting for heals, you would expect right now, to just get back into the round somehow. I think the most unfortunate thing here is where the spike is located, Mr. Crash. If you would be able to navigate us over towards the wall at main, because there's no way that Order are going to let that spike go down. All right, this is a lot of push-ups for Crash here, by the way, folks. The spike down in main, everybody for Order is going to be looking after it. They could even really just concede it over. 5 alive for the retake. As soon as it's spotted out, they know that they really can't escape over towards B now with 30 seconds. He's finding Disco, but they find 4 more.
30 seconds left.
Order getting a little bit cocky, at least in the later stages of this one. Like, Disco was ego peeking before these players, and at least now, down to a 2v4, all the players grouped up together. It's just an absolute on the side of Kanga. That's going to put him to match point.
You can try to elevate yourself there, Clutchy, but you're only going down in that round, unfortunately. As you say it here, Quickdraw, it is a map, a point for Order. The map pick of their own, of course, here in Split. 11 rounds in a row. I don't know if we'd call this climbing a mountain, climbing a marathon, or trying to go to the moon right now for Kanga, because it certainly is going to be strugglesome.
It's a rough gig for them. And with Order being on these guns now as well, I really don't like their odds. But we've seen weirder things in the past, to be honest, Eon, and you know, an opportunity could present itself the side of Kanga.
Not gonna lie, I kind of wanted to see the dart go the whole way just then, but it's all good. The recon bolt, there it is. My word, it's worked perfectly. It catches the Order members off guard and forces them out of the B heavens, which they will now concede over towards Kanga's control, trying to get up into towards B. Koro's going to jump on down. Takes is good for one. Trade up by Clutchy. Autumn will come in for the little late lurk and dropping at one as Spike falls as well. Order at a player advantage. Dink out from Lukey. Another dink out from Lukey. Great damage, but he can't quite finish off the frags. Greg manages to find Disco. It's a 1 versus 2 in favor of Order. Time to play with, but Autumn gets it done, and it's 13-1 in favor of Order Army, and an army indeed, because they were so powerful on this map.
I mean, what can we say, really? Like, that was just a masterclass. Like, that's really the simplest way of putting it. Like, Order just destroyed them. That's really the easiest way of putting it. On, you know, on their map pick, they've just done really well for themselves.
Yeah, when you've got a map like that that's done so quickly, you can't really break down too much, because we only really saw the one answered round from Kanga, right? And it was on the back of a couple of early picks off the Clutchy, and then they managed to figure out the round. For Order, though, I mean, if you want to play Split, that is certainly something that you want to look over if you are a team that wants to, you know, practice yourselves in Split and maybe change up your lineups as well. Because what they did there on the back of all of their opening frags and how they tackled them going forwards, you know, covering all their angles, just making sure they did what they needed to, it looked extremely well versed, and you got to give credit to them. I mean, you know, a 13-1 scoreline, definitely nothing to scoff at.
Yeah, just a dominant performance overall from Order, and at least after seeing that on Split, where they just won it in such a dominant fashion after just consistent rounds of, once again, just having that man advantage. Every single round, they had at least 1 or 2 players up on Kanga, and for the most part, they've just played together as a unit a lot better than what Kanga did, and it really does show. And headline, it's going to be a rough one, I feel, for Kanga. They need to try to bounce back. They need to think about this. Yeah.
Well, they do have a few minutes now, Joe, whilst we do head over to a break to get their thoughts together, maybe even forget about map number 1. Get on the train for buy-in here, guys, because we are going to just go to that short break that I've just mentioned. We will be back very shortly. All righty, everybody. Thank you for waiting so patiently. Of course, my name is Melbourne. Joining me today is Adelaide. No, I'm only just joking. You guys are having fun with that in the chat. Likewise, so should we. Guys, I'm Dion Komodo Prada. Joining me tonight is Joseph Quickdraw Basso. We have just seen, for lack of better words, utter domination between Order against Kanga in map number 1. And you've really got a feel for Kanga there, Joe.
Yeah, I mean, to put it simply, it was kind of like there was a spill on the aisle, and Order just decided they wanted to clean up the mess with them up. Like, that's literally as simple as it was. And heading into bind, this Kanga needs to bounce back here. Like, they have an opportunity to do so, and we need to see them move forward in a positive direction.
Yeah, well, a positive direction indeed. We need to see big things from them. But for now, let's hear some words from Tux from the Order Army side, because before the game, he had some things to say.
Yeah, we're feeling really good. We've put in a bit of work, so we're a bit more switched on, I think, since losing to Kanga or Crockers last week. We're feeling pretty confident individually, I would say. Playing against a team and then sort of knowing that you didn't play very well at all and then getting to rematch them is always a good thing, I think, especially when you consider yourselves a lot better than they are.
Solving into the last player remaining, and Tux picks them off.
Tux and I played together for a long time, know each other really well. And then we've got 2 new guys in Autumn and Disco. and then Dick Stacey, who Texas played with before. I'd say, you know, we're pretty well. We're still sort of finding our footing a little bit. We had a fair bit of a break over like the Christmas holidays and stuff like that. So we've sort of taken longer to get back into it. And I think we swapped roles as well. Like I've personally found it harder to adjust to the new role, going from like Jet and Orping to playing like the Cypher Killjoy sort of Sentinel role.
And Team Order shuts down EXO.
But I think it's still like we've had a good week of practice this week so far, and I think it's coming together pretty well. There's just, you know, a few things that we need to iron out, just in regards to personal improvement and like confidence in playing and making plays and understanding when we can and when we can't make certain plays.
Knows where Prophet is and finishes them off.
Other than that, I'm still enjoying it. It's still being good. That's why I'm very excited for this weekend.
Well, very excited for this weekend. You heard it first there from Tux. And I mean, we've just seen map number 1. And I guess with their role changes that he mentioned in there, Joe, to start off with a 13-1, they got to be pretty happy.
Yeah, I mean, he said it himself, like they're putting the work in. Well, they beat them on the first map. They did lose to them previously, but they bounced back in a massive way, to say the least. And Tux is a man of many words. Like, he's had a lot of experience, and especially with the new young guns coming into the team, like, it really is seeing that Order is starting to turn up a little bit more.
Yeah, well, whether or not we're going to see them turn up on Bind as well, we've seen some big things to come out from them previously. You know, one of the biggest high-stake maps that we saw is when they actually managed to beat ExoClan on this map quite a while ago now, actually, if you think about it. But if they can continue on in fashion that they did in map number 1, they will be going up against that wildcard team. I'll quickly bring these back up that we saw just beat over the boards Paradox earlier. We are, of course, now just waiting for this match to start on off. And, I mean, once upon a time, you know, if we take it over towards the first best of 3 here, Joe, we thought the Paradox would maybe be able to bring it back when it got close. We haven't seen any closeness from Kanga, so I'm kind of hoping that we see a closeness from them in this one, and hopefully try to put forward a bit of a performance. Hopefully send us into map number 3 more importantly, because if they don't, I mean, they will have to run that gauntlet again going through those qualifiers that, next week.
Yeah, and I guess the key thing as well for Kanga, like, in a good way, because, you know, a 13-1 beating is really not what you want to be seeing, especially from a team that has had some pretty good prospects, at least from what we've seen recently. They've had some good results, but it's more so about consistency at this point. And if you can't manage to, you know, bring it forward, it's going to be rough for you.
Yeah, well, could be rough indeed. Hopefully it's not for Kanga, because, I mean, you know, we've had opportunities to see these guys all play in the past under different roster names, of course, spread across the region. Hopefully they're able to bring something back in towards this matchup here. But we do, as you mentioned it there, Joe, we go in towards Binds. We've seen destruction from Order before. We've just witnessed a 13-1. Is it going to be different here? I hope so.
Fingers crossed for some positive results. They're heading into Bind. This is where things are going to start to pick up, and this is redemption for them, Dion. We need to see them bounce back in a big way, and potentially Bind is going to be the way to start, as they will be starting out on that attacking side.
Yes, well, hopefully they're able to find Pistol, find some momentum, I think, more importantly for them right now. I'm expecting the ciphers to be brought out in this one from the teams. I mean, as well, we should by all means see the difference in Omen to Brimstone on this map. I think maybe more so than we saw the difference over on Split.
I kind of like the breach pick as well coming through from Dick Stacey, especially on Bind. We have seen him pick him a couple times in the past, and it has worked definitely in their favor. And at least for Order, they are looking to keep their confidence flowing heading into this map. And 10 seconds up until we kick off the pistol round, and we are going to see a couple of frenzies on the board once again.
Ah, the frenzies. I can't tell if that was a bottle of milk or if that was something else. Huh.
Who knows? But we are going to be seeing a bit of a fast hit, at least towards the A side of the map. Clutchy going to get caught out in the Y to kick things off, at least towards A, and a bit of an interaction from the side of Order, and they're just tearing this Kanga.
One enemy remaining.
Well, Luke is going to try and get something happening. He will manage for 1 kill, but Texas is going to manage for 4 times that amount in picking up 4 with the frenzy. And that's Order finding a very, very quick sharp pistol rounds. Just rushing up towards A. There's nothing really too untoward from that. I mean, you see the sort of standards to come through from Clutchy there on that jet. Very different towards the Sage, I might add, from the previous one. Just dashing through the wire to trip that up. Not expecting the second one there, I guess. Well placed from Order, but no plant. Pistols now again. Order expected on paper to gather this round. I think the biggest thing for me is definitely going to be that first rifle round from Kanga. They need it.
Bomb buddy out.
Yeah, we could potentially see maybe an opening from them again, like what we saw in the last series, but it is rather difficult for them, and especially with the jet dash coming through and getting picked up early. That's not really what you want to be seeing from Kanga. You want to get that early pick and get that man advantage, but unfortunately, they're going to be heading their way over towards the B side of the map, and for now, it's just going to be Tux to try and defend.
Tux to try and defend in B, but is he going to be able to do so? Of course, it's good for one. Make it a second one. Will get traded out in the end of the plant to go down from Kanga. But those two Kanga players are split in their holdings right now, and now they are going to be joining hands in the grave. They both get bested. Order for alive. At the back of the round, they will concede the plan, as I said, but it doesn't really matter in the end. We know Kanga's buy is coming next. But is it going to be the thing that they really need to rely upon? Your Spectres cross board still for Order. Definitely a rifle advantage now.
Yeah, I mean, it is going to be a heavy investment, as we would expect from the side of Kanga, but this is where it does start to ramp up a little bit more for them. And first two rounds, you can lose them, not a concern, but number 3 and 4, that's really what you need to try and win to get yourself back in the game.
I see Tux on a Bucky, and I'm immediately thinking, what are we going to be seeing in this round right now? What shenanigans are going to be coming afoot? I mean, we've still got those Spectres. We know we're going up against 5 Vandals now for the side of Kanga. I want to know what plan of action Order have. I think maybe more importantly, I want to know what plan of action Kanga do put on the board in this round. But right now, yeah, just going to be sitting in the fault line over towards the B site. They're playing a default with their first rifle round. We'll see what happens.
I think that Bucky buy, I feel, is a bit of a gamble on the fact that they may be expecting Clutchy to go for that dash play again, because twice in a row now has gone with the same spot. But at least at the moment, Order, they're playing a very, very structured defense, to say the least. No one really overcommitting too much, but for Kanga, they have to really try and figure out where these players are hiding, and are they going to be expecting 3 towards B? I'm not really 100% sure.
Well, we haven't seen anybody in Hookah shoot besides Disco just yet, so maybe the second member gets them caught off guard, although as Void does fall, the paranoia works, it leans its time out to 0. Reload will be heard. All Disco needs to do is toy with them right now. They overlook the position, and Autumn's good for one. He's refiring out, can't quite get anything else happening, so the ball is now in Kanga's court. Something started. They drop in front of him. He's able to find Lukey as well. That is so unfortunate. Dick Stacy to mop it up. And when your food's just falling on your plate like that, you're definitely eating it up.
Yeah, and I said it before, they didn't expect 3 towards that B side, and you really did see it. The Jet really just holding the angle, trying to maintain that advantage that Order did have, and Autumn may have only gotten 1 kill from it, but that was enough to really just confuse Kanga.
Well, we don't want to see confused kangaroos. We want to see boxing kangaroos in full fighting force. So hopefully Kanga can get themselves woken into this game, put on those boxing gloves, and start to really take a fight against Order. They are having those weaker weaponry on their bodies right now. So we'll see what these Sheriffs and Stingers are able to do. Smokes to go on down, Clutchy to get into the site, but it's going to be met with an orbital strike. At least they do manage to escape it. All it's doing is buying time for Order to get the rotation to come on over. Texas has been ambitious to shut shots out. With the last bullet, it catches Clutchy's head. And Kanga managed to answer back in 2. So as Spike looks to go down right now, Dick Stacy manages to find the info on the planter, and it's all down to Koro. Good for 1. Traded out again. So no matter what Kanga do, there's an answer from Order. It was a better round from Kanga. Don't get me wrong, but they can't quite finish it out.
Slow but steady down. I hope is going to be happening from Kanga. They're getting the picks and they're slowly trying to work their way through. But again, that round, just being on the pistols, it's understandable. They got the spike down, which is always going to be beneficial to them. But now round number 5. This is where it has to turn up for the side of Kanga. They're going to have those rifles on the board for themselves. And I do sincerely hope we get to see them get this first round.
It's like that spray that was just put on the floor in Spawn. You know, Kanga, they are the attempted rocket ship, battleship, shooting at the gigantic squid boss there. Orders that boss and, well, really can't tickle them whatsoever, it seems.
This is going to be a little bit tricky for Kanga. Nice little adaptation from the side of Order, trying to get that early peak, but the Alcamp just rejecting that completely in Order. Nice shot to kick things off. Kanga already down a man early stages, and it's not really the ideal start for Kanga here down.
Nah, not so whatever. There's no Sage to get out that resurrection that we saw in the previous map. You've lost one of your entries on the duelists.
Makes things hard, especially in a scenario where, you know, especially with the Jet. Like, you really needed to be able to just dive through and get those early picks.
It's a very interesting dart to clear over towards Garden. If you're Order right now, you're just relying on the info from your camera as well, right? It's outside showers. You know, it doesn't really see anything over towards here. Sorry, this is where Lukey's camera is. So it's a radar. It was kind of colored for them. I wonder where Order's camera is, though. It doesn't look like it's even been deployed, actually.
I don't think he has as of yet, but Kanga, they're going to start to pounce their way out over towards the A site, and Order, they're just locking them out. It's now down to a 2v4 Dion on this push, and it's just going to make it so hard for them. It's all just down to one. Poor Rod Void stuck in a 1v4.
Yeah, Kanga just want Order to peak at this moment to try and get them in a sort of numbers advantage if they peak into 1 versus 2, but it just doesn't work out for them. Order on the back of finding that first pick from Autumn. They just pull their forces completely back and they play the passive line. You can see that Autumn again just initiates that fight, peeking out through U-hole with the operator, catching a player off. They then now know where the TP comes out from Kanga as well. Everything is just going again in favor for Order, and no matter what Kanga are throwing at them, they don't really... They're not seemingly toppling over Order. I think the best interest for Kanga now might be to try to go for one of those rush rounds again. We saw them get the plant over at B before. They just need to hold off the spike after it's planted.
Honestly, the structure that Order is showing as well is probably beneficial for them to go fast. But Dick Stacy, locked and ready, going to be able to punish Void alongside Lukey, who falls as well. And just another situation where they're trying to find these picks in their favor. Koro tries to get the pick on the Texter, but fails.
Last player standing.
I don't even know if that's bait there from, you know, Order just sitting with the dart and calling for Dick Stacy to just go through the CT smoke. I mean, they've got the numbers advantage if you're Order. Why not take those fights, help the team, have those stats? It's all down to Clutch here. The spike's not even in his possession. They're just hunting for the frag right now. Maybe this is a clippable moment for Clutch if you find something with these blades, but at the end of the day, this is looking up to be the 6th round for Order. There goes the blades, a 360 into the ground, and it's flawless in the end. It was just those little pistol half-buys, though, to come through from Kanga there. They got the rifles in the new round.
It's looking pretty similar to Split Down. I hate to say it, but Order's just looking way too confident for my liking, honestly.
Yeah, they are definitely looking with confidence, and they're backing it up as well with results. Everything that they're doing is measured.
Ready.
This Order squad just seems so confident in how they're playing as well. Like, there's not been a scenario where you can see them cowering in fear. Like, they're going for these aggressive peaks time and time again as well, and Awesome just feeling very confident with how he wants to play this. He could see himself getting a pick here too.
Oh, he's missed the first shot. Will dash away, paranoid out. Maybe this is where Kanga can get in and overwhelm the forces of Order on this site. And Operator's only good for one shot to get backed out. And then try again as Dick Stacy finds Clutch here. The rocket is brought forward. Disco able to find the frag. His teammate, however, right. Even Autumn's still lurking about. They're starting to bring it back. Autumn on for another one. It's all down to Greg. 8 HP. Fight not in position. Has to split the issue on these frags, but Autumn catches him through the wall. And we're just looking for a Hail Mary for Kanga right now. We're looking for somebody to do something spectacular to catch Order off guard. But even if that comes into fruition here, Joe, Order's money is still guaranteeing them purchases for days.
I think the main concern for Kang is Clutchy and Void right now, Dion. I hate to point them out, but both your duelists on the bottom of the scoreboard, and Clutchy being 0-7.
Careful.
That is probably the worst situation you could be in.
Bit of a Valorant's James Bond. 0 kills, 0 assists, 0 deaths. Oh, 7 deaths, rather. Right now, Kanga starts to steamroll themselves in towards the site of A. Disco, Techstar cleaning them up as both of those duelists that you mentioned try to just very quickly get in toward the site. They're all falling. They know the last player TP'd. Koro, 24 HP, spike in hand, head still on his shoulders. No longer. There's a body shot that does it in the end, but I mean, I like the change pace from Kanga. Auto just caught the kills.
Yeah, just playing it well. Once again, the side of Kanga back on these rifles down, and I just want to see Clutchy get a pick. It's really unfortunate he's having a bad game at least. Like, he's been some player for a long time now, and you know, every once in a while you do have those bad games. So hopefully we can see him swing things around.
Hopefully this is the point for them when they've got their new rifles to get these next 4 rounds. You talk about binds as a whole. You always know that it is a little bit strugglesome at times on that attacker's side. So hopefully if they are able to find 4, they get themselves started, maybe even kick into overdrive on that defensive side when they find the pistol round, if they find the pistol round. And that is their way back into the game. But you shouldn't be missing shots like that if you're Lukey. The flash was behind you. You're not blinded out. Your face is caught you. Even though you've taken him down relatively low, the rest of the order are starting to rotate over, and you've just got one player now lurking in towards Garden, taken down. Kanga had their members. They had order blind, but they all lose their lives, and it's 9 to order.
Yeah, not much you can say here, Dion. It's just about when will Kanga get this round. They need it badly. They're on a dry spree at the moment. Basically the last series in general, like the last map, they've only managed to maintain 1 round out of almost a map and a half.
Yeah, if you think about that completely, you're not wrong. Hey, 1 map in 2, or 1 round, sorry, in 2 maps in a best of 3. That's certainly we don't want to see an outcome. Hopefully it's not going to be. Texture opens up on a Lukey now.
Bomb buddy out.
Rest of the squad falling back.
I feel like they're panicking a little bit here as well. Like, they're not really directing their attention towards one location, and especially with these SMGs, they're kind of just deciding to spread things out and maybe try to find themselves some picks. But honestly, at this point, like, you really should just be trying to push together as a team and get those kills, because you're in dire straits right now to find yourself around.
Cover going out.
I think dire straits isn't even what would cut it at this point. You know, it'd be something even worse than that, to be honest. But for right now, Kanga have managed to get into the side of B, starting to get the plant down. Koro finds Techstar. That's definitely the way to start, though. They overlooked Tux's camera. They've gotten a little bit of information out. The rolling thunder does disorient the opponents, except Koro, but it's answered back in turn from order. 2 versus 2 situation around the site. Clutchy in the tube. Full HP at his deployment. And a Stinger can actually be really impactful at this position as well. They're just trying to piece together where both these players are. Eventually, the site. Clutchy's just going to push him as it's a 1-on-1. Defuse to be toyed with, but does Void even peak right now? He's so low. He's going to do it. He is. And he gets taken down as well. Time for defuse. That's 10 for order.
It's the closest they've got, Dion, which is good. They pushed together, which we wanted to see, and they got the spike down.
You're not wrong. It is the closest they've gotten, but close doesn't get them around here, unfortunately, and well, that's what they are in need of right now, isn't it? They need to get these rounds. If they have another showcase where they're only finding 1 on their attacker's side, or if they find 0, I don't even know if the defensive side is going to cut it for them, because we know that Order are just probably going to be really aggressive on their pistol rounds. We'll see what Kanga can do.
This is what we want to see. More aggression, Lukey.
Cover going out.
Okay.
I know
I didn't even know what's going on.
Yeah, a bit of a weird round that Lukey or Cora is able to TP in towards CT spawn. Blades are out from Autumn now. Good one, Cora got the trade. It's still really workable for Order, but now it's 3 versus 1. They have done it, Joe. Coro, big TP, big kills.
Last round
Can
before
get
the
a round.
switch.
Maybe it's something about round 11 for this team that just seems to be the one they win.
Yeah, you're not wrong. That's true.
Break the streak, boys. Round 12. Come on, you got this. I have faith. I have faith in them. They can get it going.
Right here.
Well,
Right here.
let's see if this is going to be the one that they're able to find another round on the board, if they are able to double their scoreline. Order, though, for now. Bit of progression up through short A. Not answered by Kanga at all. Cypher camera. Oh, sorry. Trapwire is going to spot out a little bit of information that'll keep. Or Kanga may be interested in holding the flank. Look how spread they are.
Bold
right
split.
now.
Okay.
Yeah, this is a big split from them, and it's a bit of a gamble too. Because if one of these players actually dies in bathrooms, like it's going to make things hard for them. But Awesome is going to be the key guy. Like, he's got this operated. He's going to be watching for this push.
Cloudburst going out over at A. I'm that paranoia with the flank going down. Does signify they know what's happening. Well, Autumn is able to dash away. Clutchy can't quite line up these kills. Finally gets it. Void to steal away both of them. Pulled out of a frag is Clutchy and now put to rest as well. Void even looking for some extra damage. Paint shells on the back of the stop up. Catches a great shot onto Texter, and now it is the 1 versus 2 in favor of Order. Lukey is going to be seen by that neural theft. Had to take the duel, was forced to take the fight, and Order, they do manage to bring back the round. Dick Stacey, a couple of great kills to come forward, but Void, I mean, he found 3 in the round as well. Seemingly, we go from a round that Cora finds 3 into Void finds 3. They looked plausible to do so, but it just doesn't come out into play. And Joe, the halftime scoreline again is 11-1.
Yeah, you're really just going to be able to flip the switch, and at least for Ganga, this is their last opportunity before we see them go to match point on the side of Order, and it is the same as what we just saw on Split. Fingers crossed Kanga can find themselves the pistol round, because for confidence, that's going to kick them off in the right direction.
Well, the right direction is what we need to see from Kanga. It's the defensive side. Can be argued is the stronger side of this map. Pistols.
Got a
Order.
Attack time out.
I mean, look. We've seen what the pistols can do from Order, right? We've seen what the Frenzy specifically can do from them. What do we need to see from Kanga here?
I mean,
like, if you think about it as a whole, I think from Kanga, we just need to see those individual kills, right? If we could get up the scoreboard right now, what individual stuff have we seen from them?
I mean,
Order hasn't really
really on the side of
let them
Kanga,
have much breathing room.
like the only thing Kanga has done has really just been Coro with that one round. That's I don't mean to say it badly, but that's really the one pivotal round which they have had.
That's a good start. All things considered for Kanga. Quick clutchy TP, able to find the frag. Now that the All Core was being gathered, he's allowed to escape from it as well. But that is at the cost of conceding a lot of control. How has Lukey gotten that frag? Okay, Texas able to enter back into Greg as well. It's all down to one main remaining member on Order. It's Autumn. I'm just baffled by Lukey's kill there. But this is shaping up for another round for Kanga.
TP. It's something, which is good. But I'm just so confused as to how they get 3 through TP, especially by that kill you mentioned as well. Like, it just makes absolutely no sense.
The spike is down in a tricky spot too right now. And with that dark cover going down, it kind of forces Autumn's hands to get a little bit quicker. At least he's got in front of it, taking the long duel, and Cora's going to win that one as well. So, Kanga, they have doubled their scoreline. They are on their way to the 13-11 that they want to find.
I mean, maybe they are a defender-sided team. That's what I have in mind. Maybe they're a little bit more structured on their defense.
Look, potentially could be. I think it's still a little bit too early to call. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a bit of a weird one to dictate as well, especially when like you see positive things, but then again, like you're still so far behind.
Yeah, any slip up concedes elimination control over the order. Although Clutchy's managed to find Autumn. Sees the spike in Texas possession.
Party's over.
One enemy remaining.
Really good to see here that they're not dropping anything towards these pistols as well. Just let the rounds play out. See how Kanga do. Find all those picks. Now we get into the nitty gritty. Now we got the purchase from order. This is the true fight for Kanga. This is the true rounds now. Rifles on the board.
It's going to be a test, which is what we want to be seeing from them, because they haven't been able to at least present themselves up until this point, and now with the rifles out, they lose this round, it goes to match point for Order, which is the key thing to mention as well, because Order have had just such a dominant defensive side on this map to the point where Kanga needs to make such a massive comeback, but there has to be more.
It's not even just the domination on this map specifically, it's across the whole series so far, isn't it? You know, 13-1 for map number 1 of Split, a big opener in this new round from Texter there onto Void, and really just kind of thinking, okay, Kanga, you've lost the first opener, you need to get something back in towards the B site. You can't be putting down just your normal set of utility, you need to do something to catch them off guard. The TP's going to be heard. Greg push on through to find something. He's not going to be able to do so right at the current point, but Clutchy over in Cave might be able to find something. Nope. Big Stacy's going to absolutely clean him up. Again, it's a player advantage for Order. They'll hold on to it for now. Minute left to go.
Back to B we go. Seems like it might be the case. Autumn looks like he wants to go on his own little endeavor, trying to find himself a potential pick out towards the A side. But Lukey has been able to get a little bit of info as to where he's going to be hiding. But for Order now, heading out towards B again, they've just bamboozled them, Dion. They're going back to the site where they once came from.
Well, I like that Greg hasn't peeked on the back of the camera. Finally, he'll do so, but it's unfortunate. The shots were going through the wall. He could have waited a little bit longer, and then he would have been on for a milestone of frags, but unfortunately not. All the straight down to clear the site. Shots from Koro and Dick Stacy. Eventually, it's the latter to find the frag. Now Lukey has the biggest task of them all to clutch out a 1 versus 4 to not give Order elimination point for yourselves, and unfortunately, there's too many bodies in the vision that it will find the frag. It's Order. In the 12th round here now. Kanga facing that, well, you hear it from the director, match point, but as we know it, this is elimination point from this qualifier.
Yeah, and Order Army at the moment, Dion, they're marching on. They want this win, and they want to go into the next round. And on the side of Kanga, well, they're looking a little bit tough, just like Kangaroo Me, and quite frankly, Order seems to be eating them for dinner at the moment.
Barbecuing them up quite nicely.
I mean, some cooked roux isn't that bad. Don't know if you've tried it yourself.
I have tried it, yeah, on the barbecue. Quite a while ago, actually, but, you know, you don't want to have too much of it. They are the national, of course. Not that
delicacy.
Pressure over at Long of B. Lukey finds the opener. Greg and Lukey are finding the kills where they need. Quickly, it turns into their favor. They're trying to answer back. Good for one. You don't want to see Kanga throw away too many of their bodies here to Texter, because he can certainly get it done. There's 3 kills. If he gets the orb, he's 2 away from an orbital strike. That means a plant here and 1 kill. And he has a way in which to win the round. You have to see Kanga play this together. It's those duelists that you mentioned earlier, Joe, that we're having the rough game here. Texter, it's all the brain game right now. It's not even the aim department. It's finding the disconnection of the boys. Plant goes down as well. There's info from 1 at least. Does he find the second one? It's got away on his mind.
Oh no. He's played it so well, Texter. No! He gets it!
Attackers win.
How does he do that?
Okay.
Are you kidding?
5v1, 1v5.
See
However
you
you
next
look
week.
at it, this is why you don't pick a player one at a time. I can't believe he has just brained on Kanga so hard. I don't even know what to say anymore. And yeah, bye Joe.
That's the highlight of the series right there. Holy crap. Yeah, no, you can't beat that. That's just disrespectful, honestly.
I can't wait to see the chat's reaction to that one. That is phenomenal. I don't. That is just. That's godlike, honestly. If you speak about that, that is
1v5?
absolutely godlike. We'll bring it in. That is the 2-0 to Kanga here, as you do to Order. Sorry, I'm losing my mind right now, man. Holy moly!
You can't get better than that. That's really
you can't.
If you want to finish a series on a high note, a 1v5, like, especially in that situation too, like, how do you allow that to happen?
Hey, look, it's happened. It is what it is now. It does mean that Wildcard and Order are going to be the victors to go through into the next part of the bracket that we will bring up now as well. And I mean, hey, I've just got to say, like, oh my lord, what even is that, man? Like, that is just absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, and I mean, if you're going to be excited for a series like Wildcard Order with the results they just had, I am going to be ecstatic just seeing that take place.
Yep.
They've been so good.
Yep.
So good tonight.
Well, Joe, we'll bring in the bracket before we do look to close it off to see where we are going to be going over on a little bit later. Wildcard are going to be playing Order later on down the track. It does mean here, Joe, that tomorrow's games are going to be Demon versus over Palastrike and the Direwolves taking on Mind Freak. They are going to be some absolute ripper games, that is for sure.
Yeah, another opportunity for another team to take their place in the next phase of the bracket. But that's a story for tomorrow night, Dion. Very excited to see how that one goes.
Very excited to see how that one goes indeed, my good sir. Of course, we both will be back tomorrow. If you guys wanted to see who we are, if you want to check us up on our socials, our Twitter handles are just on here. Correct me if I'm wrong, but your Twitch handle is the same without the underscore?
It's the same with the underscore because
it's with the underscore. There you go.
I didn't know you were from Australia either. You know, it's in the art. You know how it is. It's kind of like that.
Yeah, exactly. You just strip out the AU for that one. I've just seen the Twitcher's reaction actually coming in forward for the end of that game. Texter, that's a marvelous just bow down to come up. I've still lost my words on the back of it, to be completely honest with you. But guys, this is it for us tonight. Thank you, everyone. Joe, close us out.
It's been a pleasure, Dion. We'll be back tomorrow night for some more action as well. It's been a pleasure casting tonight. I reckon we've done pretty well for our first broadcast. But shout out to the LPL team as well for keeping us in check tonight. We would be lost without them, honestly. Yeah, they've done a great job this evening.
And of course, shout out to Crash on that note. Guys, we will catch you tomorrow at the same start time. Farewell.